Chapter 781. Boom. After a fierce collision, Empress Fuyao retreated hundreds of meters, her sleeves and robes were shattered, revealing her arms as white as jade lotus roots, and a trail of bright red blood slowly dripped down. This is the strength of Juyu's No. One Sword Master. The leader of the prison clan saw this and felt relieved. It seemed that he had indeed found the right person. The void rippled, revealing Luo Xing's figure holding a sword. Under the brim of the hat, there is a cold and ruthless face, and the eyes are like hawks staring at Empress Fuyao, as if looking at a prey. You are already honored to be able to catch my sword head-on without dying. Hear the words. Empress Fuyao's face was as cold as frost, and a strong look of fear flashed in her eyes. She had to admit that the other party was very dangerous. Come again. A shout. Empress Fuyao used her physical skills to launch a fierce attack on Luo Xing. At this point, she has no way out, she can only strike first and gain the advantage. Don't overestimate your own capabilities. Luo Xing sneered, his body flashed like a ghost, his sword skills were unpredictable and all-encompassing. For an instant, it was like a netherworld flower blooming in the depths of hell, its petals reflecting the horrific scene of the ups and downs of the world. This is. Empress Fuyao suddenly felt chills all over her body, and her nerves were extremely tense. Boom. The sky almost collapsed, and night and day alternated crazily. In an instant, Empress Fuyao's shoulders, lower abdomen, legs, and arms all shot out a spray of blood. Finger of Nirvana. She gritted her teeth and found the opportunity to get close to the opponent, trying to maximize the damage. The destructive finger light penetrates the sky, as if it is about to extinguish all life. Well, Luo Xing also felt uncomfortable. He was knocked out forcefully, and a stream of blood dripped from the wrist holding the sword. But it seems that Empress Fuyao was seriously injured. Seeing a shocking scar on his arm, Luo Xing's old face looked a little ugly, as if he didn't expect to be bitten by his prey. Empress Fuyao looked gloomy, secretly running her skills to stop the bleeding, but found that it would be difficult for the wound to heal if she was injured by the opponent's sharp blade, which meant that her next situation would be even worse. Fellow Taoist Luo Xing is indeed the #1 swordsman in Juyu. He has done things that even me can't do. The leader of the prison clan showed his bright eyes. He and Empress Fuyao fought for a long time, but it was difficult to cause harm to the other party. As a result, Luo Xing quickly did this as soon as he drew his sword, even if he refused to accept it. Friend Luo Xing, the situation is urgent, let's work together to kill her. As he spoke, the leader of the Hell tribe held up the 8-foot-long snake spear. The surging power of purgatory gathered at the spearhead, tearing the void apart and piercing the target like lightning. Luo Xing frowned, a little dissatisfied. Because he wanted to kill Empress Fuyao on his own, but after a collision, he also knew that the other party was not simple. If he teamed up with the leader of the prison clan, it would indeed be much easier to take down this person. After weighing the pros and cons, Luo Xing decided to cooperate with the leader of the prison clan. Rumble. The void around Empress Fuyao was shattering, and 2 astonishing chi machines were approaching crazily, trying to strangle her here. Unwilling to sit still and wait for death, she naturally gritted her teeth and faced the attack. Suddenly, blood spilled into the sky, and drops of rich holy blood fell from the sky to the earth like mountains, creating deep pits. Empress Fuyao was covered in blood, and her phoenix eyes were full of perseverance and unwillingness. 1 against 2, it was still too much for her. What will happen to Kunlun realm if I die? No one in heaven can compete with them. Wait a minute, there is fellow Taoist Yi. A thought flashed through her mind, and Empress Fuyao felt a sense of hope in her heart. If it were that man, it might not be impossible. The problem is, if this continues, the Kunlun world will be destroyed. What's the point even if he comes out later? Thinking of this, Empress Fuyao's eyes turned gloomy and her mouth became bitter, as if she could already see the fate of Kunlun realm's destruction. Boom! There was a loud bang. Empress Fuyao fell on a holy mountain. The majestic holy mountain collapsed with rumbles, falling rocks and filled with smoke. Hee. Looking at the woman half kneeling on the ground with disheveled hair, Luo Xing and the leader of the prison clan sneered in unison. Today is the day you die. Luo Xing stepped forward, his robes were windless, and he raised his sword to slash. The eternal sword light, like the vast galaxy, fell crazily, seeming to cut the world in half. With this blow, he left no way for Empress Fuyao to escape. The eldest Prince Luo Yan saw this and felt hard to understand. He has always respected the strong, and Empress Fuyao really left a deep impression on him. Perhaps even if billions of years pass in the future, he will still clearly remember this day, when a human woman once briefly amazed him. At this critical moment, Whoa, a big golden hand grabbed it from the air and smashed this vast eternal sword light into pieces. What? This sudden change made everyone look shocked. Could it be him? Empress Fuyao seemed to have thought of something and suddenly turned her head to look. A pair of phoenix eyes reflected the slender silver-haired figure. Under the setting sun, a man in white clothes walked forward step by step. The sunset light shone on his body, giving him a divine brilliance. For a moment, he felt like he was out of this world. The sword eyebrows fly into the temples, the face is plump and handsome, the eyes are as golden as a god, and the long snow-white hair flutters in the wind. He just appeared like that, and the world was silent. Who was this? Luo Xing didn't recognize Yi Junlin, and asked with a look of surprise. How powerful is it to be able to destroy his sword moves in one fell swoop? He is Yi Tiandi. The head of the prison clan had seen the image on the light screen and knew that this silver-haired young man was the lord of the heavenly court, Juyu's biggest worry. Dao Yuyi, you finally came out of retreat. Empress Fuyao murmured. For some reason, after seeing the other party appear, her heart seemed particularly stable, as if all difficulties would be settled. Dao Yu Fuyao, long time no see. Yi Junlin came to the sky and said in a calm tone, I have understood the matter clearly, and leave everything to me next. Yes, Empress Fuyao nodded, and actually sat cross-legged, and began to concentrate on recovering from her injuries, ignoring the two terrible enemies on the field. It seemed that the moment Yi Junlin appeared, the outcome of this battle was doomed. This is a natural trust, a recognition of absolute strength. Luo Xing's face was as gloomy as water, and he said coldly, do you think you are out of danger? Empress Fuyao ignored him and continued to recuperate. Looking for death, Luo Xing, who was ignored, was completely enraged, and flew towards Empress Fuyao with a long sword in hand. The dark sword light penetrated the sky and the earth, carrying an eternal and immortal sword force. Who knew that Yi Junlin dodged and intercepted, punched out, and shook the Kunlun world with a mighty imperial power. Bang! The sword light was pierced through with overwhelming force. Luo Xing screamed, his whole arm was covered with blood, revealing some of the eerie white bones. Under the fierce impact, his body flew backwards, smashing the holy mountains one by one, and thick smoke billowed. What? Luo Yan was shocked, his eyes full of disbelief. You know, that was the first sword saint in Juyu. At this moment, he was defeated by a punch. What he couldn't accept the most was the identity of that person, Yi Junlin, whom he had always regarded as his opponent. Before, Luo Yan thought that after he was promoted to the Saint Ancestor realm, he would be able to suppress Yi Junlin and avenge his sister. What happened? He could even knock down the strongest person like Juyu's sword saint with one punch. If it were him, would he have this ability? The answer is obviously no. Luo Yan knew that he could not enter the ranks of the strongest people with his own strength. Compared with the strongest people, he was still far behind and it would take a long time to catch up. Now, he has seen the terrifying power displayed by Yi Junlin. After Luo Yan was shocked, he felt deeply frustrated and instantly lost the will to compete with him. This person is invincible. The old face of the prison clan elder was shocked and his mouth opened slightly. He had thought that Yi Junlin would be very strong, but he didn't expect him to be so strong. Boom! A deafening sound. You guy! Luo Xing soared into the sky, and the injury on his arm recovered quickly with the help of Shira's chi. He stared at Yi Junlin with fierce and angry eyes. He didn't believe that there would be such a powerful human native in this world. Are you still alive? Then you won't be so lucky next time. Yi Junlin looked indifferent. While speaking, a vast golden halo appeared behind him, and the everlasting light seemed to illuminate the long river of time and reflect the past and present. Chapter 782. This sword will definitely kill you. A look of determination flashed across Luo Xing's eyes, and he gritted his teeth. The holy power in his body was boiling crazily, pouring into the sword in his hand. He tried his best to make the strongest sword strike in his life. The flowers on the other side are blooming, the underworld is secluded, and demons are emerging in endlessly. But if you look closely, you will find that all of them are made of sword light. This is a unique netherworld sword domain. The leader of the prison clan was shocked. He had a new understanding of Luo Xing's strength. The 9 nether swordsmen really lived up to his reputation. Yi Junlin's eyes were cold, and he ducked and punched. The unparalleled fist light exploded away, carrying an invincible demeanor that suppressed the world. In an instant, the invincible fist light smashed the netherworld sword domain with overwhelming momentum, and the powerful force wiped out everything in the sword domain, leaving no room left. Not good. Luo Xing's face changed drastically with fear, cold sweat broke out on his forehead, and he instinctively felt a danger of death. This time, he was completely panicked. Boom! Yi Junline's invincible fist light came to him with the courage to suppress everything. Luo Xing's scalp was numb. While he drew his sword to resist, he turned his head and shouted hysterically, "Your Highness Luo Yan, run away! Run away quickly!" When he shouted these words, it already showed that the situation was completely out of control and the operation completely failed. Mr. Xing, Luo Yan felt chills all over his body and his heart almost stopped beating with fear. Not caring about anything else, Luo Yan quickly took away the Tower of Destruction and rushed towards the outside of the territory with all his strength. The screams stopped abruptly, the invincible fist light overwhelmed Luo Xing, and the first swordsman of Juyu was killed. The leader of the prison clan was so frightened that he changed his mind and ran away as soon as Luo Xing shouted those words. He participated in this plan with the intention of winning, and never expected to die here. However, at this moment, he suddenly had a strong premonition of death, and there seemed to be a voice in his mind frantically reminding him to leave here quickly. Want to leave? Stay. Yi Junline had no intention of letting the prison clan leader go. After all, he was the one who teamed up with Luo Xing to besiege Empress Fuyao. Emperor Yi Tian, we are only following orders. I hope you can be noble. I will abdicate immediately after returning and never step into the Kunlun realm again. Feeling that the danger of death was approaching, the leader of the prison clan was sweating profusely and quickly expressed his stance. In the past, when he called Emperor Yi Tiandi verbally, it was more of a joking name, without any sense of awe at all. But now, he was really scared. The words, Yi Tiandi, were like a big mountain weighing him down and making him breathless. Compared to this, it would be better for you to die. Yi Junline sneered. The fist light contained overwhelming imperial power and shrouded the old man. Could this holy intention be? At the moment when the fist light was approaching, the leader of the prison clan seemed to have thought of something, and his eyes widened in disbelief. He should have thought long ago why the other party was so powerful that even they who had mastered the holy will of the noble product could not resist it. It turns out that this person has understood the legendary holy meaning of quasi-emperor. It's no wonder that such a powerful character as Luo Xing couldn't block a punch. It was him who couldn't block it either. Thinking of this, the leader of the prison clan was completely desperate, and even the fighting spirit to struggle before death was gone. No, then, his body was blown apart and the holy blood evaporated, as if he had never been in this world. After doing all this, Yi Junline stood alone in the void, like an undefeated divine king, with an unworldly temperament. Who would have thought that the two most powerful men who once shocked the universe would both die at his hands today? Empress Fuyao's eyes were full of shock, her red lips parted, and she didn't know what to say to express her inner emotions. She had thought that Yi Junline would be very strong after he came out of seclusion, but she never thought that he would be so ridiculously strong. Is this the strength that the Saint Ancestor realm should have? It seems I missed one. Forget it, let's deal with the current problem first. Yi Junline said thoughtfully. His target was originally Luo Xing and the leader of the Hell Clan. As for Luo Yan who ran away, because he was relatively weak, he was not within the scope of his consideration. Since he had run away, he would not take it to heart. He just felt that it's a bit of a pity. If Luo Yan knew that he was actually evaluated as weak, I really don't know how he would feel in his heart. I'm afraid he would be so angry that he vomited blood. After all, no matter how you say it, he is recognized as a superstar by the Asura clan and the strongest genius in the Juyu realm today. However, it turns out that he is related to the word weak. There is no way. If you can't even reach the strongest level now, then you won't be able to get into Yi Junline's eyes. This evaluation is reasonable. Extraterrestrial sky. The longevity man was covered in blood, with white bones exposed in more than a dozen places. Even the hoe in his hand was somewhat worn, as if he had endured countless blows from sharp weapons. A group of Saint Ancestor realm powerhouses saw this, with somewhat gloating smiles on their faces. Anyway, it wasn't them who beat him, it was Luo Wuliang who did it, and they were just watching the show. From beginning to end, it was just these two people fighting. Do you want to fight again? Luo Wuliang's eyes were majestic, he was holding a square-shaped halberd, and he was breathing vast nebulae. His aura was always domineering and powerful, without any retreat. Although Cheng Shengguang is very strong and the best among the strongest, he is facing a top supreme. When the battle reaches this intense stage, the outcome is actually obvious. Cheng Shengguang's old face was covered with bloodstains, his eyes revealed a resolute look, he clenched the hoe in his hand, and said coldly, "You ask even though you know the answer." Good, very good, Luo Wuliang said solemnly. If the other party is willing to give up Kunlun realm, he really doesn't want to fight to this point. Although he looks like he is in peak condition, the actual consumption brought by the battle is real. In this case, he has no choice but to kill this man. Boom! Luo Wuliang exudes terrifying energy fluctuations all over his body, holding the Fang Tianhua Ji high above his head, as if he will launch a fatal slash in the next second and completely end Cheng Shengguang's life. The Taoist masters' faces changed slightly, and they tacitly distanced themselves, fearing that they would be injured by mistake. Just ask, what an ironic scene this is. A 9 netherworld creature came to the Divine Court realm to make trouble, but the powerful men in the Divine Court realm were all watching the show. Cheng Shengguang had a firm expression. He had been wandering in the universe for many years, like a lost dog. At this moment, he just wanted to fight for his homeland for the last moment. Even if he died in the end, he would have no regrets. Just when Luo Wuliang was about to make a devastating blow, a familiar and anxious voice came, with a sense of panic. Father, the plan failed, let's retreat quickly. The one who shouted was Luo Yan, who had fled from Kunlun realm in a hurry. At this moment, Luo Yan seemed to have escaped from the devil's cave, with a look of panic. What did you say? Luo Wuliang was stunned, and then shocked. How could such a perfect plan fail? This was an action participated by many powerful people in Juyu, and the leaders of various clans also joined in. They should have been absolutely sure to deal with the isolated Kunlun realm. In Luo Wuliang's view, this was like a group of dragons coming out in full force, just to destroy an ant nest, which was a waste of talent. There was no reason to lose at all. Where are the others? Why didn't they come out with you? Luo Wuliang asked in surprise. Father, they are all dead, especially Elder Xing and the head of the prison clan. They all died at the hands of Emperor Yi Tian. Luo Yan was shivering all over and said with difficulty. In this operation, only these two were the strongest, but even they were killed. You can imagine how dangerous it was. This is impossible. Luo Wuliang was shocked and lost his voice, his head was buzzing, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Luo Xing was the 9 nether sword saint. He knew his strength very well. He was also the last trump card he gave to Luo Yan. He could turn the tide at a critical moment, or counter other disobedient 9 nether strongmen. In addition to the head of the prison clan who was also the strongest, this combination even made him feel a headache, and he had to be careful to deal with it. Who knew that they were all killed? And the one who killed them was the bastard who got his daughter pregnant repeatedly. Obviously, Luo Wuliang's brain was unable to wrap around the problem. After all, it had only been a few months since the last incident. No matter how great a person's talent was, it was impossible for him to grow to this level in such a short time, right? Father, I'll explain the details to you when we get back. We can't stay here for long. Luo Yan said anxiously, fearing that Yi Junlin would kill him from behind in the next second. Let's go. Luo Wuliang gritted his teeth, grabbed his eldest son and quickly left the battlefield, leaving behind everyone with a confused look on their faces. Chapter 783. What's going on? The Taoist master and others looked at each other, with astonishment visible in each other's eyes. At the same time, they also captured the most critical information, that is, the prison clan leader and Xing Lao mentioned by Luo Yan were killed. Of course, monks in the Divine Court world are no strangers to these two powerful men who have been famous for a long time. Picking one out alone can give the Shenting world a headache. But I didn't expect that he would eventually fall into the Kunlun world, and the initiator turned out to be Emperor Yi Tian, the super monster who killed the top 10 geniuses on the Supreme List a while ago. Right, it was obvious that he only reached the Saint King realm a few months ago. Even the most unique cultivation wizard in the world cannot do this so quickly. What's more, when did the Kunlun realm develop so fast that it can actually support the birth of Saint Ancestor realm creatures? The giants in the sky felt more and more unbelievable, and the atmosphere became weird for a while. The longevity man was stunned in the starry sky, his mind was a little confused, and he was very surprised by this result. After all, he was already preparing to self-destruct and use his life to defend the Kunlun realm. Who would have thought that he would have a huge twist in the end? What the hell is going on? The longevity man opened his mouth and forgot the pain in his body for a moment. Seeing this old man who was covered in blood and in extremely poor condition, all the giants in the world suppressed their thoughts, and no one chose to launch a sneak attack at this time. Although the immortal man was a thorn in their side, and it would be the best thing to get rid of it, the special situation at the moment shocked them, so none of them dared to take action, which was quite sensible. Now that the crisis in the Kunlun world has been resolved, we can rest assured. Taoist immortal Wengung is such a lucky person and has his own destiny. The Taoist master was silent for a long time, and then he raised his hands and said loudly. The eyes of other strong men kept changing, and they all agreed upon seeing this. That's right. Fortunately, there was no danger. Congratulations to your excellency for getting the world out of trouble. You really have many capable people. Please take care of me in the future. Faced with a 180-degree change in attitude towards these hypocritical guys, Cheng Shengguang looked at them with a cold expression on his face. Seeing that the other party did not respond, everyone felt that they were asking for trouble, and their expressions were somewhat embarrassed. Afterwards, Taoist master and the others said goodbye one after another and left the starry sky battlefield. The longevity man looked at the magnificent and vast planet, frowned and said, Kunlun realm, what happened? With strong curiosity, he finally couldn't help but break through the psychological boundaries and return to his mother world after being away for many years. Kunlun realm. As Luo Yan fled hastily with the Tower of Destruction, his subordinates were also eliminated one after another. So far, the dust has settled. Heaven began to declare victory to the outside world, cheers erupted in the 5 realms, and the Kunlun realm boiled like a sea. This victory is of great significance, because it is the result of the joint efforts of all the monks in Kunlun realm. To put it bluntly, it means having a real sense of participation. Instead of just being helpless and being a weak bystander like before. In the heaven, everyone gathered here, with joyful smiles on their faces. I'm waiting to see the Emperor of Heaven. When they saw Yi Junlin coming with Empress Fuyao, the monks present were shocked and bowed excitedly. Everyone, please excuse me. Yi Junlin said with a friendly smile. We have heard about the matter. Congratulations to Emperor Yi Tian for his great achievement. Lu Wangshu walked forward and said in a respectful tone. Looking at the silver-haired young man, his expression showed some emotion. Sure enough, this man had to come out to suppress everything. It is indeed synonymous with invincibility. Practice matters are not worth mentioning to me. Yi Junlin waved his hand, thinking it was a trivial matter. Anyway, he just slept and obtained the holy will of quasi-emperor grade. It is really not that hard to say. The eyes of the powerful men in heaven changed slightly, and a sense of admiration arose spontaneously. For these 10,000 years, they did not dare to relax and worked hard to cultivate and improve themselves all the time. However, 10,000 years later, not only did they fail to catch up with the Emperor of Heaven, but the gap actually widened further. Sure enough, people with good qualifications tend to work harder and do whatever it takes to maximize their potential. In these 10,000 years, the Emperor of Heaven must have had a very hard life. Fortunately, hard work pays off, and God finally paid off. At the same time, Marshal Saint Panlong was brought to the heaven by his disciple Shang Jiba, and his first sight fell on that beautiful figure with a cold temperament and peerless elegance. He suddenly felt uneasy and nervous. Which man can remain calm when meeting the goddess he once admired so much? What's more, due to the improvement of Empress Fuyao's cultivation, her aura has become stronger, her majesty is full, and her empress style is fully displayed. This made Panlong Marshal Saint feel a little ashamed in his heart. Alas, after so many years, he is still not as good as the other person. With complicated feelings, Panlong Marshal Saint decided to take the initiative. Ahem, he pretended to cough a few times, pretended to be calm and went straight to Empress Fuyao, and gave a cliched opening remark. Fuyao, long time no see. Everyone's eyes were focused on this man and woman. Shang Jiba, who was witnessing from behind, looked surprised. He did not expect that his master and Empress Fuyao had already known each other. Yi Junlin narrowed his eyes slightly and thought to himself, who is this old boy? He seems to have a story with fellow Taoist Fuyao. At this time, Empress Fuyao's face was startled, and then she showed a look of confusion. This fellow Taoist, have we known each other before? Boom! As soon as these words came out, it was like a thunderbolt from the blue sky, hitting Panlong Wusheng's forehead. He tried to open his eyes wide, with deep disbelief in his eyes. How could it be possible? Looking at the other party, he didn't remember him at all. All the scenes that Panlong Wusheng had imagined were shattered in an instant and turned into nothing. For a while, his heart was twitching with pain. Who understands? This is really too uncomfortable. Panlong Wusheng, who did not give up, tried to help Fuyao Empress to recall, and hurriedly said, Fuyao, you defeated me in the past, and encouraged me when I was most confused. Have you forgotten all this? Fuyao Empress had a strange look on her face and shook her head. I'm sorry, I have defeated too many opponents. Sometimes I feel sorry for them, and I will say a few words of encouragement to cheer them up again. As for which one you are, I really don't remember. What? Panlong Wusheng was struck by lightning and almost vomited blood. It turns out that he didn't remember him at all. He was just one of the many defeated opponents back then. He was so self-indulgent that he wanted an encounter that spanned the ages. Yi Junlin looked strange. At this moment, he always felt that Panlong Wusheng's nose was red, just like a clown in a circus. Brother, you actually have a chance, but the circus has your chance. Chapter 784. It turns out that I was the one who was rude. Marshal Saint Panlong realized that he had lost face and his cheeks were burning. He wished he could turn around and leave immediately, returning to the holy martial world to retreat for 100,000 years. Shang Jiba, who was behind him, turned his face away, barely looking at him. Master, my disciples feel embarrassed for you. However, even though I don't remember who you are, I am still sincerely happy for you when I see that my former rival has achieved what he has achieved today. We monks should not be afraid of setbacks and move forward courageously. Empress Fuyao changed the topic, her eyes were burning, and she said seriously. This is indeed what she thinks. Panlong Marshal Saint froze on the spot, the damage to him was simply too great. Even after endless years, he would always recall what this woman said to him. Thanks. Panlong Marshal Saint showed a relieved smile, his eyes were clear and firm. I will continue to work hard. In fact, apart from his admiration for Empress Fuyao, he respects her from the bottom of his heart without any distracting thoughts. This feeling is more like that of a follower, and he is very satisfied just to see her back. Although it was embarrassing just now, Marshal Saint Panlong felt that the trip was worth it to be recognized by Empress Fuyao. So, you haven't told me which world you are a monk from. Empress Fuyao said in a deep voice. In any case, the opponent is a strong man in the Saint Ancestor realm, and he is a super giant worthy of being taken seriously wherever he is. No matter what her purpose was, she wanted to ask clearly. Panlong Marshal Saint is the master of the holy martial world. This time he is specially here to assist the Kunlun realm. Panlong Marshal Saint introduced himself. I testify that everything he said is true. Because I am his disciple, and he and I killed the Juyu alien race before. Seeing this, Shang Jiba quickly stood up to testify. After hearing this, everyone's eyes were no longer wary and became much more kind. I see, he's one of us. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered and he walked over with a smile on his face. Master, he is Emperor Yi Tian. Shang Jiba quickly reminded secretly. Marshal Saint Panlong's eyes reluctantly moved away from Empress Fuyao, and when they landed on this silver-haired young man with a leadership aura, his heart instantly froze and his hair stood on end. He could clearly sense that there was a destructive force in the other party's body. I have long admired your great name. Marshal Saint Panlong cupped his fists and bowed, saying with respect. No need to be polite, we are all friends. Yi Junlin said with a smile. I feel ashamed to say it. Although I wanted to help the Kunlun realm, things turned out beyond my expectations. In the end, I had no use for it. Panlong Marshal Saint smiled sarcastically, feeling hard to understand in his heart. Who knows, this Kunlun world has changed a lot, and it has become a truly super powerful world in the universe. Even his holy martial world can only carry shoes. Yi Junlin smiled and said, it is better to provide icing on the cake than to provide help in the snow. Since you have this intention, it is enough to prove your sincerity. We, the Kunlun realm, are willing to have good relations with the Shengwu realm and work together to advance together. Hear these words. Panlong Marshal Saint was greatly touched and said 3 good words in a row. Just as Yi Junlin said, Panlong Marshal Saint also took huge risks to come to support the Kunlun realm. Even if he did not die in the Kunlun realm later, he would be squeezed out and made things difficult for him by the Taoist masters after he returned. Therefore, Marshal Saint Panlong was very happy and surprised to get this result. This wave is winning. At this moment, Yi Junlin noticed something, turned around suddenly, and shouted coldly, Who? In the sky, an old man covered in blood and dressed like a farmer appeared. He did not hide his qi, but chose to expose it actively. Empress Fuyao recognized it at a glance and blurted out, It's you. Immortal. The ancient monks present were instantly in an uproar. After all, the 3 words, eternal life, are really familiar to them. One of the 4 wonders of ancient Kunlun, it is also a legend of becoming a saint against the heavens. He mysteriously disappeared during the battle, but unexpectedly reappeared today. Fuyao. Seeing this familiar woman, the longevity man's eyes were a little moist, and he had mixed feelings in his heart. For a wanderer who has been wandering in the universe for endless years, how precious it is to see old friends who fought side by side again. Who caused you to be injured like this? When she saw that the longevity man was covered in wounds, Empress Fuyao frowned, her eyes filled with boiling murderous intent. The surrounding temperature suddenly dropped to freezing point, causing many people present to shiver. Hey, don't mention it. The longevity man sighed. Empress Fuyao was angry and anxious. She knew this old friend's temperament very well. She wanted to hide everything in her heart and make people anxious. Say, you are from outside, you must know. Immediately, his eyes turned to Panlong Marshal Saint and asked. This is what happened. Marshal Saint Panlong had no choice but to tell everything he saw and heard. Everyone's expressions changed dramatically after hearing this. They didn't expect that the involvement behind it was so deep. Luo Wuliang, sooner or later I will have to settle the score with him. Empress Fuyao gritted her teeth. Wrong, the root cause is not with him. He is just a high-level thug at best. Yi Junlin said calmly. Fellow Taoist Yi, what do you mean? Empress Fuyao frowned. The source of all this turmoil is the Lord of the Nine Netherworld. Including the mastermind behind the invasion of the Kunlun realm, he is also him. Yi Junlin sneered. He still clearly remembered that Shang Jiba was possessed by a mysterious force, and then negotiated with him. After the negotiation broke down, a war broke out, and finally cast a spell to weaken his cultivation. After a careful review, Yi Junlin finally locked the suspect on the Lord of Juyu. Only the Saint of Creation can do this. The Saint Ancestor realm alone cannot do this, and the reason for being sneaky is nothing more than being afraid of being discovered by the Lord of the Divine Court. Yi Junlin always has a questioning attitude towards the Lord of the Divine Court who suddenly protects Kunlun realm and cares about Kunlun realm. He does not believe that the other party really wants to help Kunlun realm, and there must be some conspiracy. But he can't figure out what can make a Saint of Creation so concerned. And why does the Lord of Juyu oppose Kunlun realm everywhere? He wants to destroy this world before he will stop. This is all a mystery, and it still bothers Yi Junlin. You're right, but Empress Fuyao stopped talking here, implying that we don't have the strength. That's the Saint of Creation. No matter how strong the Saint Ancestor is, in the eyes of the Saint of Creation, it is an existence that can be easily destroyed. Even if there are 10,000 of them, they can't cause any trouble. Cheng Shengwang fell into silence. Thinking of the scene where Situ Tien, the patriarch of the Light Clan, was instantly wiped out by the Lord of the Divine Court, a piercing chill rose in his heart. Because if it were him, he would have the same fate. There is no difference. Perhaps, it's time to trouble them. A thought flashed through his mind, and a terrifying brilliance burst out of Yi Junlin's eyes. At this moment, he was determined to find the two saints of creation who controlled all living beings and ask them clearly. All along, he has always been adhering to the attitude of keeping a calm mind and developing on an absolutely safe route. Now that he has come to the Saint Ancestor realm, he has the quasi-emperor's saintly intention and is officially qualified to be promoted to the Saint of Creation. There is no need to continue to live. Yi Junlin felt that he could go out openly and face all challenges calmly. After all, the only ones who could threaten him in the world today were the two saints of creation who were behind the scenes. But as long as they attacked him, there would be a third saint of creation in the universe. Then, what would happen if he fought one against two? If you don't accept it, just fight. Chapter 785. At the same time, the universe has returned to calm. The battle between the two saints of creation has ended. There is no clear winner, leaving only countless devastated, exhausted and decaying galaxies. There are even no signs of life in many galaxies, and a large number of civilizations were involved and perished in the aftermath of this battle. It is enough to imagine that this kind of destructive power cannot be compared to the Saint Ancestor realm. It is worth noting that this time the battle between the Lord of the Divine Court and the Lord of the Nine Nethers did not end at the same point as before. This time it seemed that they were completely angry, and they had already hurt each other. This is why the impact is so wide. Haha, it seems that your plan did not succeed. There was blood on the corner of Chaos Emperor's mouth, his eyes were full of sarcasm, and he looked like he was gloating about his misfortune. What a bunch of trash. Emperor Yu was so angry that he spat out blood, his eyes full of unwillingness and anger. He really couldn't understand that almost all the powerful people in Juyu could not win the Kunlun realm in the end. Why is this? You Emperor, just wait in fear. When I regain my strength, I will start the final step. At that time, I will be able to transcend this world and leave this low-level plane in advance. As for your fate, I guarantee that it will be miserable, ha 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 ha. The Chaos Emperor's laughter was filled with contentment and gradually disappeared into the vast starry sky. After the war, he had to hide and recover, and he would not appear again during this period. The throne at the end of the divine court was empty, leaving only a sparkling oracle. Lao Tianu came to the main hall tremblingly, bent down and stretched out his hands with awe on his face. Well, the oracle seemed to have spirituality, flying to his hands and floating gently. What is the new decree of the Emperor of Heaven? Lao Tianu opened the oracle carefully. After seeing the line of words above, his expression turned pale with shock, and his eyes showed deep envy and jealousy. Hey, that kid has accumulated so many blessings over many lifetimes that the Emperor of Heaven can value him so much. Putting away the oracle, Lao Tianu set off quickly with complicated emotions. Sheer world. In the palace, Luo Yan looked dejected and stood listlessly. Even after listening to the description, Luo Wuliang still felt very outrageous and thought it was a fantasy. But with the current situation, he couldn't help but not believe it. Because the facts are before our eyes. The army that Juyu invested this time brought together high-end combat capabilities and even top experts from all races. However, they all collapsed in the Kunlun realm and the entire regiment was wiped out. This is no longer as simple as breaking the muscles and bones. For the various tribes of Juyu, it is simply a serious loss of vitality, showing a gap in combat power and the tragic situation of the decline of the 10 tribes. For this, Luo Wuliang felt that he could not escape the blame. A secret treasure that can control the flow of time. If this is true, it would explain why the Kunlun world has changed so much, but why at this time? Luo Wuliang gritted his teeth and said, "Father, the child has let you down." Luo Yan said in despair. Seeing his most proud eldest son in front of him, being hit by this failure and doubting his life, Luo Wuliang felt very uncomfortable. Even Luo Xing died at the hands of that man named Yi. It seems that this person has the power to compete with me. If he troubles me, this will definitely be a fierce battle. Thinking of Yi Junline's threatening nature, Luo Wuliang's face became extremely solemn and his heart was heavy. In his eyes, Yi Junline is much stronger than Changsheng Wang, and he is qualified to become the strongest opponent behind him. Emperor Yi Tian. Luo Yan clenched his fists, and when he thought of the unparalleled fist light, he couldn't help but feel a chill all over his body and his hair stood up. At this moment, he could no longer utter big words to suppress Yi Tiandi. The absolute confidence he had before was reduced to nothing under the blow of reality. You want him to defeat that monster? Idiot's dream. What a complete idiot. Ha ha ha. Luo Yan smiled mockingly, his eyes gloomy. Hey, go down. Seeing that his eldest son was in poor condition, Luo Wuliang couldn't bear to accuse him, waved his hand and sighed. Luo Yan walked out of the palace with a heavy heart. Who would have thought that the once high-spirited and proud man would now be beaten to pieces? Brother. Rosa watched the man leave in despair. As a sister, she felt very uncomfortable. Knowing what happened, she didn't know how to face it. She didn't care about the survival of Kunlun realm. What she cared about most in this incident was the man. She originally thought that after the demise of Kunlun realm, her father and brother would return in triumph and give that man to her as a gift. Rosa has even begun to think about how to train that hateful guy. Who knew it would end up like this? Inside the palace. The atmosphere was depressing and dull, and very strange. Luo Wuliang was half kneeling on the ground, with cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. He forced himself to explain the situation to Emperor Yu. Lord, this is what happened. This plan failed. I have a responsibility that I cannot shirk. Please punish me, Lord. After speaking, he lowered his head and did not dare to say a word. Time passed minute by minute. Luo Wuliang couldn't breathe, and felt very uneasy inside. He was like an ant crawling at the feet of a giant dragon, with the possibility of being trampled at any time. It takes about 1 stick of incense. A hoarse and cold voice came from above the head. I understand, don't think about anything next, and guard Juyu. Hear the words. Luo Wuliang felt relieved and said quickly, thank you for your generosity, my lord. I will do my best to protect Juyu from the invasion of the divine court. He was surprised that the lord of Juyu did not blame him. It seemed that even the other party felt that the fault was not on him this time. My lord, the Kunlun realm. Luo Wuliang tried. I will send them to deal with it, you don't need to ask. After leaving this meaningful sentence, the pressure on Luo Wuliang's head disappeared without a trace. They are. Luo Wuliang raised his head, his tough face showed a look of doubt, and he had a vague guess in his heart. Somewhere in a mysterious space. The emperor of the underworld coughed up blood, his pair of grey eyes were gloomy and cold. Damn, I miscalculated this time. Although I don't know where the secret treasure of time came from, the rise of the Kunlun realm has become a fact. If it is not curbed, there will be no room for maneuver. You guys, hurry up and act. If it really comes to that, I believe you won't want to see it. The cold voice of the Emperor of Hell penetrated the mysterious space and landed in a paradise that only he knew. In the paradise, two figures opened their eyes from cross-legged meditation. HMPH, you come to us after the plan failed, what do you think of us? One of them said angrily. Are you going to repeat the same scene as before? The other sighed with a complicated expression. You have no choice. The Emperor of Hell sneered. What the world doesn't know is that these two chess pieces are his biggest backhand against the Kunlun realm. Chapter 786. Due to a great victory not long ago, Kunlun realm is still filled with a joyful atmosphere. The heavenly court held a grand banquet to celebrate the victory of the war. The banquet was full of fine wine and delicacies. Everyone toasted each other with smiles on their faces. Laughter and joy, harmony. After 10,000 years, I finally get to eat Xiaoxi's food again, and it still tastes familiar. Yi Junlin tasted the exquisite and delicious dishes in front of him and said with satisfaction. In the future, Shushu will cook for master every day. Make up for the past. A silver-haired lily with animal ears wearing a cook's apron said seriously. Bai Xiaoxi's appearance has not changed much, she is still so petite and lovely. Haha, good. Yi Junlin touched her head, his eyes full of tenderness. Hee. Bai Xiaoxi enjoyed the feeling of touching her head very much, her eyebrows and eyes were like crescent moons, and her naive appearance made people want to hold her in their arms and pamper her. On the other side, Chang Shengwang looked at the man in green in surprise, and said in an incredible tone, this young friend's ability really makes me look at him with new eyes. He was originally injured all over, and even his foundation had been affected. It would take at least 50 years to fully recover. However, the elegant and gentle man in green in front of him healed him in just one stick of incense, which surprised Chang Shengwang and refreshed his horizons. It's just a little effort, nothing to mention. The man in green smiled shyly, and his smile was as sunny as a boy next door. He is Yi Junlin's fourth apprentice, the Great Mushroom King. Perhaps it was the breakthrough progress of the Qingdi Changshengju that changed his appearance. He is no longer the dark-skinned boy with a mushroom head. At this time, he has long black hair, fair and smooth skin, a face like a crown of jade, and a natural, humble and gentle gentleman temperament. At first, even Yi Junlin didn't recognize him. It wasn't until the Great Mushroom King used the Green Emperor's longevity art that he reluctantly accepted the changes in his fourth apprentice. Green Emperor is the apprentice of fellow Taoist Yi. He is best at treating others. He is recognized as a medical saint in our heavenly court. He also cured my injury. Empress Fuyao said with a smile. The entire Kunlun realm knows that the Lord of Heaven has 4 apprentices, each of whom has extraordinary magical powers and amazing talents. The eldest apprentice, Chidi, is the king of the fire system and has the power to burn the sky and destroy the earth. The second apprentice, Beatty, has the best cooking skills in the world. Anyone who eats it will be unable to stop and become a captive of food. The third apprentice, Daodi, is the leader of the Dao Dao, and his swordsmanship is unmatched. The fourth apprentice, Qingdi, has extraordinary medical skills. No matter how serious the injury is, as long as there is still a breath, it can be saved. This time, my eyes are really opened. Chang Shengwang sighed. The Great Mushroom King scratched his head and said embarrassedly, oh, without master, I would not be here today. He always remembered that at that time he was just an immortal medicine in Yaowang Valley, and he was muddle-headed all day long, not knowing the true meaning of life. Later, Yi Junlin appeared and completely changed his fate. Just when the banquet was in full swing and the atmosphere was lively. A slightly sharp voice like a eunuch echoed in the sky above Kunlun realm, and all living beings could hear it clearly in an instant. The Lord of the Divine Court has ordered that Yi Junlin will be appointed as the young master of the Divine Court for his immortal achievements. In the outer starry sky, a bright ball of light descended, revealing a group of spotless white figures. The old man in the lead was wearing a white robe, with a red dot on his forehead, and his eyebrows and beard were all white. He held the oracle in his hand and said seriously. Boom, the heavens and the worlds were shaken, and countless creatures were shocked. The title of the young master of the Divine Court actually fell on the head of that Yi Tiandi. But if you think about it carefully, it seems to be justifiable. After all, it is said that Juyu suffered a great loss this time, and the Lord of the Divine Court therefore paid attention to and looked favorably upon Yi Tiandi. It's so dramatic. At the beginning, we all thought that Yi Junlin would die miserably in the end after using the title of Tiandi without authorization. Unexpectedly, he not only did not die, but also won the appreciation of the Lord of the Divine Court. A Saint King realm creature said with a wry smile. Yes, who dares to question him now? He will be the controller of the Divine Court realm in the future, and the title of Tiandi is genuine. Kunlun realm will also become the first super realm of the Divine Court because of him, and its status will be unshakable. Fuck, so envious. For a while, the starry sky was full of discussions. All the giants in the previous 10 worlds of the Divine Court were so angry that they wanted to vomit blood and could not accept this fact. In this case, what does the death of my clan's Daozi mean? The Dao Lord of the Wuxi realm had an ugly face and was extremely regretful in his heart. Until now, he still felt resentful about Dao Wuan's death. Poor Dao Wuan was a brilliant man with a rare space holy body. Once he entered the Saint Ancestor realm, his achievements would be even greater than his. However, he died halfway and died in the hands of a more evil genius. The other realm masters were filled with remorse and wished to stop all this from happening. Of course, they were just thinking about it and must not take action, because this was the oracle conveyed by the Lord of the Divine Court. Once they collided, they would be enemies with the Lord of the Divine Court, and no one could bear the consequences. Moreover, they also knew the messenger responsible for conveying the oracle. He was the most trusted old slave of the Lord of the Divine Court, and his strength was also among the strongest. The Kunlun realm was in an uproar. The heavenly court was greatly shocked, and all the cultivators looked at each other, with astonishment in their eyes. Their Lord of Heaven is actually going to become the young master of God Court. For so many years, due to the transparency of information from the outside world, they also know how powerful God Court is, covering all the heavens and worlds. If he becomes the young master of God Court, then he will basically be the Lord of God Court in the future, qualified to rule all the worlds, and the true Lord of the world. This, Lu Wangshu and the others were stunned, not knowing what to do. They have always had complaints about the Lord of God Court, but they didn't expect that the other party's attitude suddenly changed drastically, repeatedly helping Kunlun realm, and now even granting him the position of young master. So, should he accept it or not? If he accepts it, there will be many benefits. If he doesn't accept it, wouldn't he offend a saint of creation? Empress Fuyao and Cheng Shengwang frowned, unable to make a decision for a moment. In the crowd, Emperor Yin's eyes sparkled, and he couldn't help muttering, if it were me, I would accept the oracle and become the young master of the Divine Court first. Anyway, there is no harm, and it is also very impressive. As soon as this was said, everyone looked strange, but they really couldn't refute it. Because no matter how you look at it, becoming the young master of the Divine Court is not bad. On the contrary, with this title, you will definitely have great power in the Divine Court world, second only to the Lord of the Divine Court. From now on, who dares not to obey? Ahem. In the starry sky, a trace of dissatisfaction flashed in the eyes of the old slave, and he said in a heavier tone, Yi Junlin, why don't you come over quickly to receive the decree? In his opinion, most people would be eager to fly over to receive the decree when they heard such a good thing. Why is there no movement at all? Does he have to go and invite him in person? Swish, swish, swish. In the heavenly court, countless eyes converged on the silver-haired young man, wanting to see what choice he would make. Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows, rubbed his chin, and said secretly, I was just worried about not knowing the way, now it's good, it's delivered to my door. It is said that the God Court was built in a chaotic space, and the Lord of the God Court was in it. Yi Junlin wanted to go to the door and have a good chat with the other party. Unfortunately, the arrival of the old slave of the sky gave him a great opportunity. Ding, congratulations to the host for activating the random task. If you refuse to accept the position of the young master of the God Court and fight the God Court, you can get a supreme boxing method, the Heavenly Emperor Fist. Close black lens bracket. The system prompt sounded, window, underscore tabula equals window, underscore tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01, container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 by 250 feet, placement, below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet, target underscore type, mix. Chapter 787. Damn, the Heavenly Emperor Fist. Yi Junlin's eyes lit up, and he was overjoyed. As soon as he heard the name, he knew it was powerful. That's right, only the Heavenly Emperor Fist can match his identity as Yi Tiandi. And hitting the Divine Court is just what he wants. Yi Junlin, what are you waiting for? Why don't you come quickly to receive the order? In the outer space, the old Tianu felt a little angry, and his tone was very impatient. You kid haven't become the lord of the divine court yet, and you've already learned to put on airs with me. Are you deliberately pretending to be deaf and dumb to give me a warning? I tell you, even if you become the lord of the divine court in the future, I will only obey the orders of the previous one, and you can't do anything to me. The old Tianu was fearless and was very unhappy with Yi Junline's attitude. At this moment, a sneer with a playful laugh came, young master of the divine court. Not even a dog. In an instant, the universe was dead silent. Countless creatures were stunned and couldn't believe their ears. What did he say? The young master of the divine court, not even a dog. Who said dogs don't deserve it? I deserve it, I deserve it. Go Buli raised his hand and shouted hurriedly in Kunlun realm. Immediately, he attracted strange looks from all directions. No need to criticize, this is a real dog. The old Tianu, who recovered from the shock, was instantly furious and shouted, "What did you say? Say it again if you have the guts." The position of the young master of the divine court, which all the heavens and all the worlds dream of, is now said by a guy to be not even a dog. This is not only an insult to the master behind him, but also an insult to him who came to convey the will. Old thing, listen carefully. This so-called young master of the divine court is not even a dog. Yi Junline said word by word with a playful look. You are looking for death. Hearing this, the old Tianu was so angry that he trembled all over, and a surge of anger swept through his chest, as if to burn his whole body. What a shame, what a shame. After a brief silence, the starry sky exploded. Is Yi Tiandi crazy? Why is he talking nonsense at this time? I don't know. Crazy, completely crazy. Thinking that the Lord of the Divine Court values him, he is fearless. This is too arrogant. Seeing this scene, the Taoist masters were stunned, and then they were ecstatic and almost clapped their hands. It's really self-destruction. When they were feeling extremely regretful, Yi Junline's reverse operation directly gave them hope. This move is a naked humiliation. They don't believe that the Supreme Lord of the Divine Court will be indifferent. Don't say it, I will. I will be the Lord. On the other side, Go Buli was so anxious that he kept shouting. Who said that dogs don't want to be? You are not a dog, how do you know I don't want to be? It's too much. Of course, his voice was selectively ignored. The Kunlun world cultivators were all shocked. Why would the Lord of Heaven make such an unexpected move? Panlong Wusheng's scalp was numb. Stop it, I'm just forming an alliance with you, and this is the result. Originally, he thought this was a great thing, which completely established the future dominance of Kunlun world, and his Shengwu world could also benefit from it, and his chickens and dogs would rise to heaven. Unexpectedly, Yi Junline directly spoke wildly and broke his beautiful vision. No, why? Panlong Wusheng was complaining in his heart, feeling that a disaster was coming. Only Yi Junline was calm and composed at the scene, and even looked indifferent. Because he knew in his heart that the Lord of the Divine Court posed no threat to him. First of all, his cultivation could be used to touch porcelain, and secondly, when he had the Heavenly Emperor fist, he was really not inferior to the other party. Good for you, Yi Junline, you already have a way to die. Old Tianu said angrily. Yi Junline stood up and sneered, what can you do to me? The old slave was furious and shouted, I will take you back and let you accept the judgment of the Emperor of Heaven. Boom, suddenly, more than a dozen saintly slaves burst out with terrible momentum, disrupting the vast starry sky and shaking multiple star fields. The Divine Court cannot be insulted, and the Lord of the Divine Court cannot be insulted. They are determined to suppress this man and take him back to wait for his fate. Good opportunity. A group of giants are ready to move, all thinking of taking this opportunity to unite and get rid of Yi Junline. In order to be on the safe side, the old slave also deliberately said, is there any Taoist friend willing to lend a hand? After returning, I will definitely say a few good words in front of the Emperor of Heaven. Dong. The sound of knocking the Buddha bell is melodious and long, echoing in the universe. A golden Buddha statue is instantly placed above the galaxy, surrounded by floating planets, colorful and particularly magnificent. The Lord of the Buddha clan has appeared. Amitabha, according to my observation, Mr. Yi has lost his mind and is no different from a demon. I hope you can suppress him together and return a piece of pure land to this world. Good, good. The Buddha clasped his hands together and said righteously. Add me. Seeing that even a powerful person like the Buddha stood up, the Titan's ancestors also gave up and rubbed their hands, wanting to avenge their descendants. I'll come too. Let's go together and avenge what happened before. That's right. Swish swish swish. Like opening Pandora's box, powerful figures appeared one after another outside the Kunlun realm. Some had the sun and the moon on their heads, their eyes were like stars, some held fierce weapons and could cut the galaxy, and some swallowed and spit out nebulae, like gods in the world. There was a dead silence in all the heavens and the worlds. Countless creatures were trembling with fear, and they didn't expect that things would eventually turn out to be like this. There were dozens of saint ancestors who joined forces to attack just to deal with one person. It was a big scene. Among them, the Taoist master looked around and felt that it was stable. With so many saint ancestors joining forces, even if Luo Wuliang, the strongest man in Juyu, came, he would be blown up in the starry sky and his soul would be scattered. The terrifying sense of oppression gathered in the Kunlun realm. For a time, the Kunlun realm was trembling, and the air between heaven and earth was extremely solidified. Countless cultivators were suffocating in their hearts and their faces were pale. In the heavenly court, everyone was ready to fight as if they were facing a great enemy. It seems that there will be another fierce battle. The face of the Fuyao Empress was solemn. It's just that this time it's more serious than before, I'm afraid it's not easy to deal with. Chang Shengwang said coldly, holding the hoe in his hand tightly. Let alone the two supreme masters, the Taoist master and the Buddha master, the old slave is an extremely difficult stubble, and his strength is not inferior to the Taoist master and the Buddha master. What's more, there are a lot of saint ancestor realm helpers on the scene, and any world will be blown up. HMPH, if you want to fight, then fight. Hong Chenyi's momentum rose steadily, and he sneered. Come on, my sword is already thirsty. Li Wuji's eyes burst into a fierce light. They believe in the strength of their own master, so facing a group of saint ancestor realm masters, they feel fearless but eager to try. Haha, Yi Junlin took a step forward with his hands behind his back and came to the outer space. Following behind him, there were also Fuyao Empress and others. The two sides were on the verge of a fight. Old Tianu sneered, do you want to implicate those innocent people behind you? Or just surrender and go to the divine court with me to apologize? Thank you for your trouble. Yi will go to the divine court in person, but not to be captured by you, but to fight. Yi Junlin said. As soon as this was said, his ambition was completely exposed. You are going to rebel. Old Tianu was shocked and angry, pointing at the silver-haired young man in front of him, and said in a voice like a duck. The Taoist masters were shocked, and then they were gloating, thinking that Yi Junlin was blinded by the short-term victory and wanted to defeat the Lord of the Divine Court and replace him. No matter how strong the Saint Ancestor realm is, how can he fight against the Saint of Creation? This is simply impossible. If he can suppress Yi Junlin and slaughter all the creatures in Kunlun realm, not only will he get his revenge, but he can also win the approval of the Lord of the Divine Court. It can be said to kill two birds with one stone. Empress Fuyao and others were shocked and worried. They felt that Yi Junlin was still impulsive and actually tore his face with the Lord of the Divine Court in public. Can he win by arm wrestling with a Saint of Creation? But now that things have come to this, there is no room for maneuver. They must advance and retreat together with this man. No way. In the team, Panlong Wusheng's expression was uglier than eating shit. He suddenly felt like he was on a pirate ship, but was it too late to get off the ship now? Suddenly, a majestic and powerful voice like thunder came from the depths of the starry sky. You villains, dare to unite to bully my Kunlun realm. I think you are looking for death. Boom. In countless shocked eyes, a giant with a vast body crossed multiple star fields like a dragon and a tiger. Billions of planets along the way were pulled by his momentum, deviated from their daily trajectory, and actually revolved around him. His whole body showed strong muscles, exuding a wild breath, his black hair was dancing like a wild dragon, his face was carved like a magic work, with sharp edges and corners, tough and resolute. His eyes, like stars, were brighter than the sun, staring at the giants of the Saint Ancestor realm with a sense of oppression. Who is this monster? Many creatures were shocked and uneasy. Chang Sheng stared at the giant's appearance, and his old face showed deep shock. Emperor Tian. He is Emperor Tian. Empress Fuyao confirmed repeatedly and said excitedly, yes, he is Emperor Tian. Empress Tian, one of the four great masters of ancient Kunlun, was a good friend who fought side by side with them. Later, he was ambushed and captured by Juyu, and his life and death were unknown. Unexpectedly, this former body-refining genius appeared at this time. Chapter 788. Dishan, Lu Wangshu and the others were surprised and happy when they heard this name. Just because Dtian was also the patron saint of Kunlun realm back then, and he was a demon-level genius who was at the forefront of body refining. At that time, he was the god in the eyes of all physical practitioners. Therefore, when they saw Emperor Tian reappearing in the world, coming to support the Kunlun realm with unparalleled momentum, every ancient monk present had a sore nose and moist eyes. Everyone, long time no see. DTN glanced at the more familiar faces such as Empress Fuyao, Cheng Shunweng, and Lu Wangshu with complex eyes. This monster is still alive. Some giants of the Saint Ancestor realm who were also from ancient times were shocked and felt unbelievable. It is said that Juyu set up an ambush back then, originally thinking of joining forces to kill DTN, but found out that he couldn't be killed at all, so in the end he had to do the next best thing, capture DTN alive and bring him back for disposal. This can reflect how terrifying the opponent's physique is and how tenacious his vitality is. It's really Senior DTN. Panlong Martial Saint's pupils trembled as he said excitedly. Until now, he has never forgotten his experience of begging for many years in Dishin Dojo, just to get a piece of advice from the other party. He didn't complain or feel embarrassed at all about what happened back then, because he really benefited a lot. After returning, he made rapid progress and became the strongest martial saint in the ancestral star. Now, seeing this noble man again, Panlong Martial Saint still has such respect in his heart. At this time, facing DTN's strong rescue, it suddenly put a lot of pressure on Taoist Master and the others. Lao Tianu looked ugly and said, "How did you escape from Juyu?" He could instinctively feel a terrifying aura from the other party. DTN pondered. Juyu has imprisoned me for many years. During this period, I was indeed unable to escape. But for some reason, the power to suppress me has weakened a lot recently, so that I was able to escape smoothly. Everyone looked at each other in confusion at this statement. Perhaps it was because the various clans in Juyu suffered heavy casualties a while ago that the higher-ups were no longer able to maintain the means of suppressing him, which is why Dishin was able to escape smoothly. Lu Wangshu analyzed the reason. Hear the words. Everyone couldn't help but nod in agreement. In any case, it's a good thing that Dishin can get out of trouble. For the Kunlun world, he is a top helper. DTN, have you ever slandered the monks of my Titan clan and said they would never reach the pinnacle of body refining? Say. Suddenly, the ancestor of the Titan clan suddenly remembered something and asked aggressively. Logically speaking, the Titan family has a unique advantage in physical training. Everyone is born with physical training. They can become excellent physical training without hard training, and they can be called the darlings of this field. However, back then, DTN openly declared to the outside world that the Titan clan was destined not to reach the pinnacle of body refining, and would never be able to break the final imprisonment. They could only stay in their own ways for the rest of their lives. These remarks caused a great sensation at the time. The ancestor of the Titan clan originally wanted to find a day to discuss the matter, but as a result, a sudden change occurred quickly so that the matter fell into disrepair. Therefore, when he saw DTN again, the petty-minded ancestor of the Titan clan couldn't help but bring up the past. DTN was stunned for a moment, looked thoughtful, and said firmly, "Yes, it is indeed true, but what I said is the truth, and it is not a slander." By the end, he was confident and his voice was sonorous and powerful. This made the Titan clan ancestor very angry. Dishin, stop talking nonsense. I, the Titan clan, are the kings of body refining. DTN shook his head. With all due respect, the bastard is pretty much the same. Everyone looked strange. Isn't this too sarcastic? Moreover, it is quite vivid. The ancestor of the Titan clan spurted out 2 hurricane-like waves of air from his nostrils, and his forehead was covered with veins. He, who was already grumpy, could not bear to be humiliated in public, so he roared and launched an attack. Boom! A torrential amount of blood energy burst out, reversing the chaos of the galaxy. The ancestor of the Titan race set out and punched the Emperor. The punch was so powerful that countless planets exploded along the way. Unexpectedly, Dishin didn't dodge or block, so he received the punch firmly. Bang! There was a big explosion in the starry sky, and the air waves surged. The ancestor of the Titan clan was shocked, and his fists were numb, as if they were struck by a piece of divine iron that had been tempered for thousands of times. DTN, on the other hand, didn't move at all, with a sarcastic sneer on his lips. Are you serious? In an instant, the ancestor of the Titan clan felt hugely insulted, and his star-like eyes quickly turned into blood. This was a direct red eye. Ah, I'll kill you. Immediately, the power of the Titans in the body fully exploded, and strange and mysterious lines even appeared on the surface of the body, covering the whole body, as if possessed by the Titan god, full of divine and immortal aura. The next second, a violent fist attack broke out. Boom boom boom, 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 A series of dense explosions sounded, shaking energy ripples as vast as the sea. Many holy worlds that were affected were trembling. Countless creatures were trembling in fear and did not dare to say a word. The most shocking scene happened. Facing the crazy attack from the ancestor of the Titan clan, DTN refused to fight back. He stood like an indestructible sacred mountain, regardless of the wind and rain. From beginning to end, he didn't move even an inch, looking calm and collected. Everyone was dumbfounded and their jaws almost dropped. There is a saying that the strength exerted by the ancestor of the Titan clan at this moment is already very close to the ranks of the strongest. Even the Taoist master and the Buddha master cannot stand and allow him to receive a critical blow without harming their bodies. Result: DTN did it. During this period, there was not even a single fluctuation of holy power, and there was no magical power to protect the body. It was purely relying on the strength of the physical body to resist, without any moisture. With such extraordinary and abnormal defense, who wouldn't feel scared after seeing it? This level of physical body is probably the ceiling level under the saint of creation. Impossible, impossible, you must be faking it. The ancestor of the Titan tribe roared with numbness on his scalp and an emotional breakdown. His fists were numb and painful, but it turned out that he didn't even have a problem. It's strange that his mentality was not broken. Haha, it's my turn too. DTN sneered. After saying that, he raised his fist and smashed it hard at the huge Titan in front of him. Boom! The starry sky collapsed, and the sun and moon were forever silent. The ancestor of the Titan clan vomited blood, and there was a deep sunken fist mark on his chest. His sternum collapsed inch by inch, dripping with blood. The violent eyes suddenly regained their clarity, revealing an incredible look. Are you kidding me? Breaking his defense with one punch. You, the Titan clan, pay too much attention to your bloodline, thinking that the stronger your bloodline, the stronger your physique will be. If things go on like this, you will be constrained by yourselves and have no room to develop. Little do you know that the purpose of cultivating one's body is to constantly break the limits of the body, so that you can pass through. We are heading towards the broad road, but you have narrowed your path and finally stayed stuck in your own ruts. This is the difference between you and me. DTN's eyes were so bright, and his voice carried an unquestionable power. The ancestor of the Titan race seemed to have been stabbed in a sore spot, shouting hysterically, "Shut up, you are talking nonsense." He endured the pain in his body and raised his fist to swing it out, but DTN's fist was faster than him. Bang, 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 dull explosions sounded one after another. The body of the ancestor of the Titan clan was dented in various ways, and his body was on the verge of being broken, with blood splattering everywhere. Ancestor. In the Titan realm, the tribesmen cried out in grief. Their ancestors, who were upright in their eyes, were beaten to the point where they were unable to fight back. Are you convinced? Dishan asked. The Titan ancestor's head was dizzy, and he struggled to grasp the chance of life. No, don't fight, I surrender. After this set of output, he won't be able to accept it. In fact, the Titan ancestor's vitality is very tenacious, because if this method was applied to other saint ancestors, he would probably be beaten in a few blows. He is the only one who can take so many punches and still hold on for a while. It's a pity that he met the strongest body refining king in history. If you provoke me, you will pay the price and die. Without hesitation, DTN punched out with all his strength. The punch was unparalleled in the world, blasting the Titan clan ancestor whose body was on the verge of being broken into a large cloud of blood mist, which was scattered in the starry sky. The heavens and worlds were greatly shaken. The dignified leader of the Titan realm was beaten to death. On the Kunlun realm side, morale has soared, and everyone is excited and high-spirited to fight. The Taoist master and the others felt chilled and were in a dilemma. No way. DTN's performance was too domineering, especially his ability to withstand blows was beyond the standard, even the strongest would have to step aside. If we really fight, this kind of monster with full defense will be the most troublesome. Yi Junline's eyes were very appreciative. God is really helping me. Although he was confident of reaching Shenting without Dishan's intervention, having more powerful help would be a good thing after all. There was a flash of fear in Lao Tianu's eyes, and then there was a cunning look, and he said in a sinister voice, "I'll hold him back while you go deal with Yi Junline." As he spoke, Lao Tianu cast his unique spell and threw out the whisk in his hand. The snow-white whisk extended like a vast galaxy, and then wrapped around DTN's majestic body. Countless mysterious runes intertwined and flickered, forming a trap of imprisonment. DTN looked surprised and tried all his strength to break free. Unexpectedly, the harder he tried, the tighter the whisk would be. Don't waste your efforts. This is my unique secret technique. Unless your holy power is deeper than mine, strength alone is ineffective. Lao Tianyu said proudly. This move is indeed sinister enough. He may not be able to beat DTN, but he can 100% trap DTN. It is worth mentioning that Dishan will always be trapped unless he is unable to maintain it. DTN felt very aggrieved and roared, "You despicable guy. Let me go if you dare and challenge me one-on-one." Lao Tianyu sneered, "Do you think your end will be easy? After I suppress the rebel, I will also escort you to the divine court to wait for the fate of the Emperor of Heaven." Hateful. Empress Fuyao and the others looked ugly. Unexpectedly, the other party has this skill. The eyes of the giant of the Saint Ancestral Realm lit up, and hope rose in his heart again. "Emperor Yi Tian, you have to take full responsibility for the death of our Taoist disciple." Seeing that the time was right, the Taoist leader took the lead in attacking with a single-handed seal. Others followed closely and attacked one after another. Yi Junlin raised his hand, and there was a golden sword in his hand, which glowed with dazzling light like the sun when he held it. He sneered and said, "Just in time to get rid of you all at once." Kill. Empress Fuyao and the others also attacked at the same time. Boom boom boom. The super melee of dozens of saint ancestors can be said to be very terrifying. Almost half of the universe was affected. Emperor Tian gritted his teeth, anxious. He thought that without his help, relying on the saint ancestors in Kunlun realm, there was basically no possibility of victory. As a result, what happened later surprised him greatly, and he almost suspected that what he saw was an illusion. Chapter 789. Yi Junlin held the human emperor sword and swung it out. The sword light was dreamlike and all-encompassing. One after another, the saint ancestors were killed, and blood splattered the starry sky. It was unimaginable that these high-ranking giants were being slaughtered like animals at this moment, and their screams revealed fear and despair. There were no gorgeous sword moves. Yi Junlin chopped and chopped with the sword horizontally and vertically. It was so simple and rough. But every sword that fell contained extremely terrifying power. In a moment, more than 20 saint ancestors died, and without exception, they all died under his sword. There was no room for struggle. How is it possible? The Tao Masters' scalps were numb, and the uneasiness in their hearts became more and more intense. Among them, the Lord of 10,000 Swords was shocked. They all used swords, so why was the gap so huge? If it were him, it would be impossible to do this. Man and sword become one. The Lord of 10,000 Swords gritted his teeth, and his whole body turned into a dazzling sword light as vast as the Milky Way, filled with unstoppable momentum. If Luo Xing, the Nine-Nether Sword Saint, was still here, he would have to deal with this ultimate sword move with caution, fearing that he would be seriously injured. Haha, here comes a sword man who is not afraid of death. Yi Junlin smiled playfully, and slashed out with a sword. It seemed to be an ordinary sword, but it had the power to cut off the avenue. What? The Lord of 10,000 Swords was horrified, and felt the fatal danger at the first time. Boom boom boom. The vast eternal sword light like the Milky Way collapsed inch by inch, and the scene was as spectacular as the destruction of billions of planets. Among them, an old figure with blood dripping and almost broken flew out, his eyes full of disbelief. Yi Junlin's sword just now kept repeating in his mind, and in addition to shock, he was desperate and powerless. Just because of this sword, it can't be stopped no matter what. Sword Master. The strong men of the 10,000 Swords realm cried out. Several powerful people rushed up and wanted to rescue the Lord of 10,000 Swords, but they were all excitedly shouted back by the Lord of 10,000 Swords, "Don't come here to die. The 10,000 Swords realm will rely on you in the future." As he said this, the Lord of 10,000 Swords sighed, regretted deeply, and disintegrated and disappeared in the vast starry sky. Yi Junlin sneered, "You are sensible. If he dared to play the trick of self-destruction in the end, he would not mind destroying the 10,000 Swords realm as well." Seeing the death of the Lord of 10,000 Swords, all the creatures in the 10,000 Swords realm fell into grief. This is a long-established Sword Supreme, but he did not expect to end up like this today. Seeing that the Lord of 10,000 Swords was forced to commit suicide, a group of Saint Ancestor Realm giants were shocked and frightened, and suddenly regretted it. How many of them can compare with the Lord of 10,000 Swords? Even a figure of this level was defeated, how much chance of winning can there be next? Master is really invincible. Li Wuji was so excited that his blood boiled, and he had endless energy all over his body. Kill. Don't let them run away. Hong Chenyi's eyes were like cold stars. He raised his hand and cast a surging holy flame, burning several Saint Ancestor Realm strongmen. Obviously, because Yi Junlin killed more than half of the enemies, the pressure on Kunlun realm was greatly reduced, and it turned from disadvantage to advantage in an instant. The old Tianu was shocked and said angrily, "Hold steady. Don't retreat." He was shocked by the strength displayed by Yi Junlin, because this was beyond his expectation. What a powerful sword cultivator, there are such younger generations in my Kunlun realm. DTN showed a touch of surprise on his face, and then thought of something, his eyes became particularly deep. In a blink of an eye, Yi Junlin killed more than a dozen Saint Ancestor realm strongmen like cutting melons and vegetables, including those Tianu from the Divine Court. Everyone only saw his invincible side, but they didn't know the secret hidden in it. The eternal sword heart is secondary, the most important thing is the blessing of the Quasi-Emperor Great Holy Will. With the human Emperor sword in his hand as a medium, the power of each sword has long exceeded the scope of the Saint Ancestor realm. Even to a certain extent, it has reached the level of Quasi-Creation Saint, which can pose a certain threat to the Creation Saint. It is in this situation that Yi Junlin will be so invincible, facing the attack of a group of Saint Ancestor realm, and can kill them. The Buddha repelled the Changsheng Wang, and his heart sank to the bottom when he saw this scene. If I had known earlier, I would have observed it for a while before making plans. Now it's really a dilemma. Amitabha, I see that the devil in Master Yi has disappeared, maybe it was a misunderstanding before. The Buddha said in a deep voice. As soon as this was said, everyone didn't know what to say. So you are the one who said all the good and bad things? Have some shame. The Taoist master looked grim, and he scolded. Don't be silly, we have no way out, can't you see he wants to kill us all? The Buddha master fell into silence, and after a while he said, I think Mr. Yi is a reasonable person, he won't be so reckless. Yi Junlin joked, you guys come together, I'm in a hurry. The Taoist master and the Buddha master's expressions changed, and a surge of anger surged in their hearts. In this case, let's fight to the end. The Buddha kingdom in the palm. The Buddha master went all out and displayed this supreme magical power. His Buddha kingdom in the palm is completely different from the Sakyamuni saint monk. In the shocked vision of the crowd, a vast golden hand appeared in the starry sky, with billions of planets swirling above the hand, and the overwhelming chanting of scriptures came from it. This is no longer as simple as a Buddha kingdom, it is like a small Buddhist universe. The art of great destruction. The Taoist master made a seal with both hands and cast this magic desperately. The art of great destruction is the strongest secret art of the Taoist clan. Only the Taoist master level is qualified to practice it, but it has little effect because it is extremely difficult. Once it is fully mastered, it is the ultimate killing move that can destroy many star fields. The bound Emperor Tian looked solemn. If he faced the top killing moves of these two people at the same time, even with his invincible body, he would suffer certain damage. After all, no matter how strong a shield is, it has a limit to its endurance. At this moment, facing the attacks of the two top masters of the Divine Court, Yi Junlin was not afraid. The holy power in his body was stimulated to the extreme. The golden holy sword in his hand was humming violently, as if he was excited about it. Cut. The thin lips spit out a word heavily, and the magnificent and cold voice spread throughout the heavens and the worlds. In an instant, an extremely stunning and peerless sword light swept across the starry sky, as if to cut off the eternal years and split the entire universe into two. Boom boom boom. The starry sky exploded, and the universe was shaking. Empress Fuyao and the others were shocked by the aftermath and retreated, feeling incredible about the power of this sword. The Buddha was unable to resist, his face was horrified, spider web-like marks appeared all over his body, and then his body gradually dissipated like wind and sand. The supreme leader of the Western Heaven Realm died. Buddha, this is not true. In the Western Heaven Realm, the monks cried bitterly, their hearts were broken. In front of this invincible sword light, the Taoist felt the threat of death, and said with a stiff face, Emperor Yi Tian, I am willing to lead the Wuxi realm to submit to you. Assist you in attacking the Divine Court. Spare my life. After seeing Yi Junlin's strength, he completely figured it out. Instead of risking his life, he might as well give up his dignity and surrender. Maybe the other party can give him a chance. Chapter 790. Fantasy is beautiful, reality is cruel. Originally thought that they could take this opportunity to get rid of Yi Junlin, the biggest trouble, and make Kunlun world unable to recover from it. As a result, they were all killed. The Taoist master was forced to surrender. He thought that his identity was still valuable. Yi Junlin looked contemptuous, you are not much better than that old bald donkey. The Taoist master was almost unable to hold on. Feeling the vitality in his body was fading quickly, He didn't care about the embarrassment and hurriedly said, Emperor Yi Tian, think twice, as long as you spare my life, I will immediately support you as the new master. I don't need you to surrender, because killing you is the same. Yi Junlin said this meaningful sentence. Then, he continued to bless the sword, and smashed the Taoist master to pieces with one sword, and died. All living beings were shocked and felt that the forces of the universe were about to be reshuffled. In this battle, too many Saint Ancestor Realm warriors fell, and the top combat power of the Divine Court realm was almost wiped out. Unless the Lord of the Divine Court personally came down, who else could pose a threat to the Kunlun realm? But after such a serious incident, why did he not make any movement? Could it be that after the previous fight with the Lord of the Nine Netherworld, his physical condition was not enough to support him to fight? When many powerful people thought of this possibility, their faces were full of doubts. At the top of the starry sky, there was only a handsome young man holding a sword, with strands of snow-white hair entangled and floating behind his head like water, and his aura was so powerful that it was invincible and terrifying. Lao Tianu looked at all this with his eyes wide open. He was really isolated and helpless now. You, how can you be so powerful? Lao Tianu was full of disbelief, and his shrill voice was filled with fear. If it were him, it would be impossible to deal with the two top masters, the Taoist master and the Buddha master, at the same time. One-on-one is fine, at least there is a chance of winning, but if it is one-on-two, then he will definitely lose. So, when seeing Yi Junlin kill these two top masters with absolute power, Lao Tianu's heart was shocked and terrified. He couldn't believe that there would be such a monster in the Divine Court realm. Run! The frightened Lao Tianu retracted his whisk and was about to run away quickly. But the result was that Yi Junlin easily caught up with him and cut off his limbs with a sword, like a human stick. Ah! If you dare to do this to me, the Emperor of Heaven will not let you go. Lao Tianu screamed with a face full of pain. Yi Junlin sneered. If he really has the guts, he should come out to see me instead of hiding behind the scenes like a turtle. Hearing this, everyone couldn't help but take a breath, fearing that the Lord of the Divine Court would really show up and fight Yi Junlin to the death. The strange thing is, the Lord of the Divine Court, who is omnipotent on weekdays, seemed to have disappeared at this moment without any movement. Is he really scared? Impossible. That's a saint of creation. You, what do you want? Lao Tianu said in pain, thinking that the silver-haired young man in front of him was not only a madman but also a devil. Didn't I say it? I want to fight the God's court. Yi Junlin smiled and said, thank you for leading the way. Lao Tianu's scalp numbed, and he gritted his teeth and said, you are looking for death. I admit that you are very strong, but if you want to defeat a saint of creation, it is nothing but a fool's dream. If that's the case, wouldn't it be just what you want? Or are you afraid that I will kill your master then? Yi Junlin said playfully. Impossible. Lao Tianu changed his attitude and roared, okay, I'll take you there. I want to see how you die. When he said this, his tone became heavier, and his old face was full of hideousness and resentment. Fellow Taoist Yi, we will go with you. Fuyao Empress said in a deep voice. That's what she thought, at least she could contribute more. DTN was silent, with a hidden gleam in his eyes. Yi Junlin waved his hand, that's not necessary, you stay and guard Kunlun realm, I'll go to the Divine Court, don't worry, it's okay. But, everyone looked worried, although this young man is terribly strong, it's still very dangerous to face the legendary saint of creation. My fellow Taoist, I don't know much about you, but I can see that you are very important to Kunlun realm. I hope you can return safely. DTN looked at him and said. You won't go with me? Yi Junlin suddenly turned his head and asked. DTN was startled and smiled awkwardly, fellow Taoist is really a joke. It doesn't matter whether I go or not. I'd better stay and guard Kunlun realm. Everyone felt a little strange. They didn't know why Yi Junlin only invited DTN. Did he think that the other party was tough and resistant to beating? Yi Junlin said seriously, I just said it casually, don't take it to heart. Haha, Dao Yu is really humorous. Emperor Tian's eyes changed slightly, revealing a hearty smile. Then, Yi Junlin grabbed the old Tianu with one hand and held the sword with the other, and set foot on the road to the Divine Court. The universe was boiling. Emperor Yi Tian, the strongest person in Kunlun realm, actually wanted to attack the Supreme Lord of the Divine Court. If successful, from then on, the Divine Court realm will be changed to the Heavenly Court realm, and all the heavens and worlds will regard the Lord of the Heavenly Court as the supreme ruler. This is definitely a historic change. Can you really win? Some creatures said uncertainly. The Saint Ancestor realm will lose against the Saint of Creation no matter how you look at it. A certain realm master shook his head. I don't think so. Things have reached this point and the Lord of the Divine Court did not intervene. This shows that his physical condition does not allow him to do so. What do you mean, Your Excellency? Don't forget, he fought against the Lord of 9 Netherworlds, and he must have been seriously injured in that fight. It's inconvenient to come out. According to what you mean, Emperor Yi Tian may actually have a slight chance of winning. I think Emperor Yi Tian also knows very well that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I see, I thought he was crazy, but I didn't expect him to be quite sober. Don't rush to conclusions. An injured saint of creation cannot be offended by a mere saint ancestor. As the saying goes, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Everyone knows it. There was a storm of public opinion, and this matter was discussed all over the starry sky. Countless creatures have a premonition that the world of the Divine Court is about to change. But if Yi Junlin fails, then he will become a taboo in the Shenting world until he disappears in the long river of history. Even the Kunlun world where he is located will surely be implicated. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit, this has always been the case. Master, he will definitely win. Li Wuji's tone was full of confidence. Hong Chenyi nodded, her eyes full of firmness and determination. If the master really fell in the Divine Court, then as a disciple he would risk his life for revenge and would never survive in this world. Everyone, let's go back. Fellow Taoist Yi has what he wants to do, and we also have our own mission. Empress Fuyao said. Without Yi Junlin, she would be the second most powerful person in heaven, with great influence and voice. Good. Hearing this, Lu Wangshu and the others nodded. Detien's eyes flashed, and his figure quickly shrank to a height of 2 meters, and he followed everyone back to the Kunlun realm. After entering the Kunlun realm, Detien spread his arms and breathed in the fresh air greedily, with a look of nostalgia on his tough face. This is his long-lost hometown, the mother planet that raised him. The picture in my mind is that of a young man from a mountain village who luckily entered the path of spiritual practice, and later found a new way to create a unique body refining method. From then on, he defeated all the heroes, attained enlightenment and became a saint in ancient times, and was worshipped by people all over the world. The scenery is endless. Until that incident broke everything. A look of struggle flashed across Detien's eyes, as if he was having trouble making a choice. Dishan, you must be surprised to see the Kunlun world develop to this point. Empress Fuyao said. Don't talk about Dishan, I was also shocked when I first returned to Kunlun realm. Chong Shengguang rarely joked. A smile appeared on Detien's lips. Yeah, I'm really surprised, I almost can't recognize it. Senior Dishan, do you still remember me? At this time, Panlong Martial Saint came over like a student and said with respect on his face. Detien's eyes fell on this majestic and heroic man, and he couldn't help but frown, thinking, I have an impression, it seems that we have met before. It's me, Xiaolong, Panlong Martial Saint said without hesitation. At that time, I specially visited your dojo, just to get your advice. Oh, it's you. After so many years, it seems that you are doing well, and you are also in the realm of the saint ancestor like me. Detien patted his shoulder and said with a smile. Thank you for the compliment, senior. Panlong Martial Saint said with a wry smile. Although he is still in the saint ancestor realm, he can't withstand his punch. The gap is really too big. Among them, Shang Jiba's eyes widened in surprise. He didn't expect that master still had such a history. Jiba, come here and show me senior. Panlong Martial Saint greeted. Disciple, come right now. Shang Jiba hurried over, clasped his fists and bowed respectfully. I've met Senior Detien. This is my apprentice, what do you think? Panlong Martial Saint wanted to take this opportunity to let Detien point out his apprentice. Shang Jiba was excited in his heart. He knew that Detien was very accomplished in body refining, and any advice would save him from many detours. Yes, he is a malleable talent, Detien nodded, and then made a few generous remarks. Thank you, Senior Dishan. Thank you very much, Shang Jiba said gratefully as if he had found a treasure. Detien, your successful escape is something worthy of celebration. Why don't the 3 of us have a few drinks together? Empress Fuyao invited. That's right, said the longevity man. Detien felt a little hesitant in his heart, but thought of not rushing for a moment. He nodded and said with a smile, okay. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode, thumbs feed 01. Container, tabula below article thumbnail, 300 by 250 feet. Placement, below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet. Target _type, mix. Chapter 791. Other side, under the huge momentum of public opinion, Yi Junlin came all the way to the location of Shenting. It was a chaotic space with restrictions on creatures below the Saint Ancestor realm. Without the order of the Lord of the Divine Court, outsiders are absolutely not allowed to enter without permission. The only one who can stay in the Divine Court forever is Tianu. Therefore, after so many years, the interior of Shenting has been deserted. It has been a long time since the last meeting of the Divine Court was held for people of Dao Master's status to participate. Under normal circumstances, the only people who live in the Divine Court are the Lord of the Divine Court and the heavenly slaves he has trained. This also leads to the Shenting being a high-ranking and extremely mysterious existence in the eyes of the creatures in all the worlds. Now, without the order of the Lord of the Divine Court, Yi Junlin wanted to force his way in as an outsider. This was undoubtedly a serious offense to the Lord of the Divine Court. "We're here, do you dare to go in?" Lao Tianu said with a look of resentment. "Why don't you dare?" Yi Junlin sneered as he stepped into the chaotic space, and the surroundings rippled like water waves. For a moment, he felt like he was being watched, but this feeling was fleeting, like an illusion. What catches the eye? It is a magnificent ancient palace, with a plaque with the word, Shenting, hanging high above it, revealing the aura of timeless vicissitudes of time. As for how big the ancient palace is exactly, let's put it this way, even the stars outside are just pearls held in the mouths of the stone lions on both sides of the gate. The surroundings were quiet and the atmosphere was a little strange. When Yi Junlin entered the main entrance of Shenting, a system prompt sounded in his mind. "Ding, congratulations to the host for completing the mission and being rewarded with the Heavenly Emperor Fist." Close black lens bracket. The corners of Yi Junlin's mouth curved slightly. Very good, the Heavenly Emperor Fist is in hand. In this way, he doesn't have to worry about anything. As long as the Lord of the Divine Court dares to appear, he will blow the opponent's dog head off with a set of Heavenly Emperor Fist. "Lord of the Divine Court, get out of here. Are you scared to death by me?" Yi Junlin shouted directly. The clear and iron-like voice contained surging holy power, which continued to reverberate in the vast Divine Court and reach every corner. "Stop hiding, your Grandpa Yi is here to see you. Come out of here with the password. I know you are here. Aren't you awesome? Why are you hiding?" One beautiful word after another, with naked malice, resounded in the Divine Court, pointing directly at the Lord of the Divine Court. You are so brave." Lao Tianu almost blacked out and broke into a cold sweat. If he dared to shout like this in the Divine Court, he simply couldn't imagine what the consequences would be. Yi Junlin went all the way with full firepower and crazy verbal output. He soon arrived at the end of the Divine Court and his eyes fell on the Supreme Throne. There is no one on the throne. Knowing that labor and management were coming, did you really run away? Yi Junlin raised his eyebrows. He just wants to cause trouble, hoping that the Lord of the Divine Court will not be able to resist taking action against him, so that he can become the saint of creation. As a result, even a human figure was seen. Facing his crazy greetings, the Lord of the Divine Court remained silent, as if he had already left the Divine Court. If that were the case, it would be a bit embarrassing. "Isn't it true that you have been scolding me for so long in vain?" Lao Tianu also noticed something was wrong and quickly shouted, "Emperor of Heaven, please show up and kill this arrogant guy." However, there was no movement at all. This made Lao Tianu completely panic, and the faith he had maintained for many years suddenly collapsed. In his mind, the Lord of the Divine Court is invincible. Except for the Lord of Juyu who can compete with him, there is no third person in the world who can compete with him. Unexpectedly, when faced with a challenge from a junior, the great Lord of the Divine Court fled in panic, not daring to accept the challenge. This is nothing less than a huge blow to God. Moment. He was like a deflated rubber ball, his spirit was sluggish, and he looked half dead. Yi Junlin said contemptuously, "Tisk, tisk, it seems that he is really scared. I thought your master was very capable. Stop talking, woo woo woo." Lao Tianu's face was filled with grief, and he couldn't help but burst into tears. He couldn't help crying, not to mention how sad he was. "It's so boring." Yi Junlin shook his head, making him look forward to it in vain. Because it had lost its use value, he raised his hand and beat Lao Tianu into a ball of blood mist. Then, he split the throne into two halves with a sword and walked out of the chaotic space. Seeing Yi Junlin come out safe and sound, all the forces that were always paying attention to chaos space were boiling. "Oh my god, Emperor Yi Tian is out. He's out. What does this mean? Emperor Yi Tian defeated the Lord of the Divine Court. But why is there no movement of fighting at all?" All living beings were shocked and puzzled. Yi Junlin did not intend to hide it, but openly said, "The Lord of the Divine Court avoids fighting. He exists in name only." As soon as these words came out, there was fear in all directions and a sensation in the starry sky. Are you kidding me? The majestic Lord of the Divine Court actually avoided fighting. Obviously, this is cowardice. As long as the target can be eliminated, he will take action. Since he has not taken action, he is not completely sure, so he has to choose to avoid its edge. For a while, the hearts of all people in the world are affected. Through this incident, countless powerful people regard Yi Junlin as a transcendent existence that can threaten the saint of creation. According to normal circumstances, the saint ancestor realm is as weak as an ant to the saint of creation. Even if the saint of creation is injured, it is easy to kill a saint ancestor realm. As a result, Yi Junlin subverted their understanding. Neither knows. Somewhere far away in a hidden space, the Chaos Emperor looked very ugly and was so angry that he almost vomited 3 liters of blood. This despicable human race dares to rebel against me. As long as he is my loyal dog, I am willing to entrust the divine court to him and let him take charge of this universe for me. I didn't expect him to be so ambitious. It's really heartbreaking. Regarding Yi Junlin's backstabbing behavior, the Chaos Emperor was shocked and angry. This was a situation he did not expect. Originally, he thought Yi Junlin was a useful talent and decided to give him the position of young master of the divine court. In the future, when he leaves this plane, the other party will be the new lord of the divine court and a chess piece he has laid in this universe. Never expected it. Yi Junlin actually disobeyed his will and openly rebelled. Replace him. This is simply a great shame and humiliation for the Chaos Emperor. And everything Yi Junlin did outside was obviously seen by him. As the outside world suspected, Yi Junlin now poses a certain threat to him, and it is really difficult to take action in his current situation. The reason is simple: he was injured in the battle with the Lord of 9 Netherworlds, but this is not the most critical thing. The key is that he needs to be in his prime to start the last step of his plan. Even if he wins in the battle with Yi Junlin, it will only prolong the time for him to recover, and he doesn't want to make any mistakes during this period. Because his opponent is also Emperor Yu, who is hiding in the dark. He didn't want to be picked up by the other party in the end. Therefore, in the face of Yi Junlin's crazy provocation, the Emperor of Chaos chose to endure it and swallow the bad breath. As the saying goes, a little impatience ruins a big plan. As long as he survives this stage and initiates the final harvest stage, he can become a being above the saint of creation and transcend this plane. Not to mention Yi Junlin, even Emperor Yu in his heyday could be killed with one finger. For this lofty ambition, the Chaos Emperor had no choice but to break his teeth and swallow them in his stomach, slowly recovering his body in the dark. You all wait for me, and then the accounts will be settled slowly. Kunlun Realm. DTN, Empress Fuyao and the Longevity Man drank for 3 rounds in the elegant pavilion and talked about the past, and they were all filled with emotion. There are lotus flowers all around, the blue waves are rippling, and the scenery is beautiful and refreshing. We used to have wine and discussed Tao like this. At that time, the 4 of us, it was 3 people. Chang Shengguang realized that he had said something wrong and quickly corrected him. The 4 people he mentioned naturally included the traitor. It's just that it's hard to say it because of the occasion. HMPH. Empress Fuyao put down her wine glass heavily, her eyes filled with ice-cold chill. Apparently the Longevity Man mentioned the person she hated the most in her life. She will never forgive that person for the mistakes he made. The Immortal Man said with a smile, "I said the wrong thing, I will punish myself with 3 cups of wine." As he said that, he drank 3 drinks in an attempt to smooth things over. Unexpectedly, Empress Fuyao said, "There is nothing to hide. The 4 of us used to get together from time to time. Who knows, there is a traitor in the middle. It's true that we know people but not their hearts. If I meet this traitor again, I will make him pay for his mistakes." Empress Fuyao's eyebrows seemed to be stained with a layer of frost, and her cold voice was filled with murderous intent. The temperature in the air suddenly dropped to the extreme. The Longevity Man looked embarrassed. After all, it was because of him. Dishan's eyes kept changing, and the feeling in his heart was difficult to understand. Empress Fuyao noticed something strange and stared at DTN in confusion. "Aren't you the one who hates evil the most? Why are you silent now?" Dishan reacted and gritted his teeth. "He really deserves to die. I have always wanted to take revenge. I just didn't find the chance. By the way, you have been imprisoned in Juyu for so long, but have you ever seen him? Is he still in Juyu now?" Empress Fuyao asked. "Hey, I know nothing about the outside world. As for where he is, I have no idea. DTN sighed. Anyway, when the matter is settled, I will find him even if I turn everything upside down. Empress Fuyao said bitterly. This has always been her obsession, to kill the traitor with her hands. There will be a chance. DTN nodded, but his expression was a little stiff. There's news. There's news. A shout sounded from the horizon. Lu Huang came over from Tengyun, looking very excited. Mrs. Lu, are you referring to fellow Taoist Yi? Empress Fuyao stood up subconsciously and asked. Ever since Yi Junlin went to Shenting, she had been very worried, fearing that bad news would come one day and all her previous efforts would be wasted. After all, this is a life and death struggle. If Yi Junlin loses, then the Kunlun world will be liquidated. Yes, there are already results. Lu Wangshu said. Tell me quickly, do you win or lose? The longevity man said nervously. Didn't win. As soon as these two words came out, Empress Fuyao and Cheng Shengweng suddenly turned pale, with a feeling that their hopes were shattered. On the other hand, Emperor Tian seemed to have expected it, and there was no surprise at all. As a result, Lu Wangshu continued, but I didn't lose either. Huh, this time, Empress Fuyao, Elder Changsheng, and Emperor Tian were all confused. Chapter 792. What does it mean, neither losing nor winning? Empress Fuyao thought of a possibility and quickly said, could it be a tie? If that were the case, that would be great. No. Lu Wangshu shook his head. The three of them had strange looks on their faces, and their eyes began to look at Lu Wangshu with an evil look. It's not this, it's not that, you're trying to trick us on purpose, right? Sensing that something was wrong in the atmosphere, Lu Wangshu quickly explained, that's the case. It is said that they did not hand over at all, because the Lord of Shenting was not in Shenting at all, but disappeared mysteriously. As soon as these words came out, Empress Fuyao and the others' expressions changed, and they were quite surprised. The Lord of the Divine Court is not in the Divine Courtyard. So where is he? Or we can say, why is he not in the Divine Court? Are you afraid of getting into trouble? Considering the current situation, there is only one explanation. Otherwise, how could the majestic Lord of the Divine Court act like a coward in the face of other people's provocations? I think it's not just the Lord of the Divine Court, but also the Lord of the Nine Netherworlds. They were all injured due to previous fights, so it's inconvenient for them to show up. The longevity man's eyes flashed and he mused. So far, it seems that it is indeed the case. Empress Fuyao said. Lu Wangshu smiled and said, this is a good thing. Now that the two holy cities of creation have retreated, our crisis has been temporarily relieved. Unfortunately, it is not a permanent relief. DTN said in a complicated tone. Look at it, we won't have to worry about it for at least 100 years. After all, for an existence of that level, it will take a long time to recover from the injury. A smile appeared on the old face of the longevity man. If he was injured like that before, it would take at least 50 years to slowly recover, and a creature at the level of the Saint of Creation would definitely take even longer. 100 years, 200 years, 300 years. This is impossible to say. Therefore, they don't need to fear being liquidated in a short period of time. That's right, Empress Fuyao agreed. Everyone was in a very good mood, but DTN was preoccupied and seemed to be struggling in his heart, very tangled. Night falls. The breeze was blowing slowly, and DTN was sitting on the top of the mountain, like a rock, with a strong sense of oppression. Suddenly, a fallen leaf floated over. DTN seemed to sense something and suddenly opened his bright eyes, which were so dazzling that it was hard to keep them open. Should we start? He sighed and whispered. Stop hesitating, you know why we are here. A strange voice sounded in the air, low and hoarse. I saw a strangely split eyeball on the fallen leaf, staring at DTN. The Lord of the Divine Court has been injured and retreated. Maybe things can turn around. DTN clenched his fist. Don't be naive. After he recovers his body, he will use that thing to start the final harvesting stage. By then, many worlds will suffer, including the Kunlun realm. Louis said. What if, the Lord of the Divine Court can be eliminated? DTN's eyes burst into light. Luo Yi was silent for a moment and continued. Except Emperor Yu, who else in the world can do this? You must know that only the Saint of Creation can defeat the Saint of Creation. Together, you and I are not a one-shot enemy at this level. DTN said in a deep voice. That guy named Yi, he is the most special genius of the human race I have ever seen. He is even more talented than you and me back then. Maybe he can really break through the Saint of Creation and let us out of this predicament. Through previous conversations with Empress Fuyao, he learned about Yi Junline's previous deeds and gained a new perspective on Yi Junline's abilities. To be honest, DTN was very surprised that such a powerful genius could be born in the future generations of Kunlun realm. This is why he has some expectations for Yi Junline. I understand what you mean. That guy is indeed special, but we can't afford to bet. If he can't break through the holy creation during this period, then everything will be irreversible. Can you bear the consequences? Luo Yi paused and said seriously, what's more, even you Emperor can't figure out where the Lord of the Divine Court is currently hiding. Even if that kid succeeds in breaking through the Saint of Creation in the end, it will be difficult for him to find the Lord of the Divine Court. In this case, the key to breaking the situation is not the Lord of the Divine Court, but the Kunlun realm. Don't hesitate, act quickly. If we wait for that person to come back, our actions will be hindered. I always have a hunch that he seems to be wary of you. Hearing these words, the illusion that existed in Dishan's heart was broken, and his eyes couldn't help but show pain. He loves his hometown very much, and returning to his hometown this time makes him feel better than ever before. He really didn't want to break all this. But the situation is pressing. For the sake of the balance of the universe and the continuation of life in the Kunlun world, he must do this. Even if he bears infamy, he must personally ruin the future of his hometown. This feeling of pain and powerlessness caused DTN to suffer in his heart, and he wanted to scream to the sky to vent his inner depression and irritability. Remember this feeling, this is what I faced back then. Luo Yi's tone contained a hint of self-deprecation. DTN tried his best to calm down his emotions and said in a deep voice, I understand, I'll be there right away. He stood up and his majestic figure disappeared from the top of the mountain. The fallen leaf also decayed and disappeared into the air. Deep underground in the Kunlun realm, in the area leading to the Star Core, there are soldiers from heaven standing guard along the way, and the security is very tight. Because of the lessons learned from the past, Empress Fuyao deployed garrison forces around the Kunlun World Star Core and implemented a shift system. If there was any change, she would immediately contact the Heavenly Court. This is not over yet. Lu Wangshu has even set up multiple formations. You must hold relevant tokens to pass. Once you break in, an alarm will be triggered and the Heavenly Court headquarters will be informed immediately. In short, when it comes to protecting the Star Core, Heavenly Court has done its best. DTN's aura was very powerful, knocking out the defending heavenly soldiers along the way without killing anyone. As for these warning formations, they can originally be detected even by the strong ones in the Saint Ancestor realm, but for the most powerful ones who have mastered the holy will of the noble product, these are in vain. Swish swish swish, DTN went straight through the formations along the way without triggering the warning, and successfully arrived at the core area, where the Star Core is located. Looking at the ball of light suspended at the highest point, emitting dazzling light, DTN's eyes flashed with unbearability, and then was replaced by determination. He did this all to save the Kunlun realm and reverse the trend of destruction of all heavens and realms. Next, all we need to do is repeat the same trick and pollute the Star Core. Dishan took out a small green bottle and pulled out the stopper. A strange and ominous black gas emitted from the mouth of the green bottle. Go! In an instant, a large cloud of ink-like black gas flew out and fell towards the bright Star Core. Once the Star Core is contaminated, the Kunlun world will reappear the tragedy of the past, facing the end of the world with the exhaustion of holy energy and the decline of all things. Just at the critical moment, a big golden hand emerged from the void, grabbing the strange black energy and extinguishing it instantly. DTN's expression changed. The other party was actually able to hibernate quietly without being discovered by him. Just this alone made him feel very dangerous. We just met not long ago, and you forgot about me so quickly. A slightly joking voice came from the other side. A silver-haired young man walked leisurely with his hands behind his back, a sarcastic smile on his lips. DTN's pupils shrank and he lost his voice. Why is it you? Haven't you come back yet? The person coming is none other than Yi Junline. The reason why DTN was shocked was that he was unaware of Yi Junline's return, and the long journey from the Divine Court back to the Kunlun realm would take at least a while even if he was traveling with all his strength. How did the other party manage to be so fast and able to hide from the enemy when he returned to the Kunlun realm? The most important thing is that the opponent arrived near the Star Core one step ahead of him and waited for a while, which meant that his plan was exposed from the beginning. The more DTN thought about it, the more puzzled he became, and his eyes looked at Yi Junline with surprise. What a surprise! Yi Junline sneered and said, I have long seen that something is wrong with you. Fellow Taoist Fuyao and the others have filters for you, but I don't. They believed in you so much, but you betrayed them. Hear the words. DTN's heart was as sharp as a knife, and he said angrily, "You don't know anything, and you are not qualified to teach me a lesson." The surging momentum surged out, causing Yi Junlin to take 2 steps back. This detail made DTN's eyes flash with a strange look. "Wait a minute, you are not here in person, you are just a clone now." Correct answer. Yi Junlin felt that there was nothing to hide, shrugged and said calmly. His true body is still outside the territory, rushing towards the Kunlun realm. As for this body, it is just a clone of his holy power left behind. DTN sneered and said, "If it were your true self coming in person, I would still find it more troublesome, but now you are just a clone, so fragile, how dare you stop me?" This is the truth. DTN was really wary of Yi Junlin, a rising star. If the other party really took action personally, he might not be able to compete. As a result, the other person who had been making trouble for a long time was just a clone, so what was he still worried about? This is just a matter of punching. Thoughts are turning. The vast blood energy in DTN's body was rolling, and his bright eyes were as ferocious as a wild beast. He raised his fists and gathered infinite strength to hit the target hard. Boom! A domineering and unparalleled bronze fist mark flew away, creating a sound of a big explosion in the air and the collapse of the void inch by inch. This situation, Yi Junlin smiled meaningfully and silently took out the Human Emperor banner. Chapter 793. The Human Emperor banner was specially left to the clone by Yi Junlin. It is worth mentioning that after each battle, he arranged for his clone to secretly summon the souls of his dead opponents and put them into the flags. Facing DTN's full punch, Yi Junlin decisively used the power of the Human Emperor banner. Boom! The domineering bronze fist seal burst open, and the surging air waves rolled. Yi Junlin fell back more than 10 feet, and then he barely managed to stabilize his body. DTN's eyes fell on the flag that was filled with black energy, and his expression changed slightly as he asked, "What kind of magic weapon is this?" The one that can block his full punch is no longer an ordinary Saint Ancestor level holy weapon. With that level of destructive power, even a top-grade Saint Ancestor level sacred weapon would be blown into scrap metal by one punch. Only the best Saint Ancestor level holy weapon is qualified to touch him, but the user must be the strongest, otherwise it will not be able to block his punch. Therefore, DTN was very surprised that Yi Junlin was able to block his punch with this weird flag. Haha, more surprises are yet to come, Yi Junlin said with deep meaning in his tone. HMPH, you are trying to be mysterious, let's see how I can blow up your broken flag. The blood and energy in DTN's body surged like a river, his voice was shocking, his aura was rising steadily, and he felt an unparalleled sense of oppression. Dishin punched again, brazenly. At the same time, Yi Junlin waved the Human Emperor flag in his hand, and a powerful blurry figure flew out to meet DTN's punch. Boom! The underground world is shaking violently. DTN took a closer look and his pupils shrank, making it difficult to find the passage. It was a figure in Taoist robes shrouded in chaotic mist, with a purple lotus crown on top of his head. He should have looked like an immortal Taoist, but his eyes were frighteningly red, and the aura on his body was inexplicably weird. It didn't seem to come from a living creature, but rather like a ghost from the underworld. The person who appeared in front of DTN was the Lord of the Beginningless Realm and the Tao Master of the Tao clan. After the death of the Taoist Master, the dead souls were recruited into the Human Emperor banner. They were affected by the power inside the banner day and night, and they became completely soul slaves. There's more, don't worry. Yi Junlin chuckled and released all the dead souls of the Holy Ancestor realm that he had recruited before. These are all his loyal thugs. Swish swish swish. One after another, powerful soul slave figures walked out of the flags. Their eyes were as red as wild beasts. They wore different clothes. They all looked familiar. They were all giants of the Saint Ancestor realm who had fallen in that battle. There are the Buddha Lord of the Western Heaven realm, the Lord of 10,000 Swords of the 10,000 Swords realm, and even the ancestor of the Titan clan who was killed by DTN. With dozens of Saint Ancestor realm experts, this lineup is quite powerful. Fuck, DTN was stunned and his mouth opened wide. This was a scene he never expected. How outrageous. Seeing all the soul slaves from the Saint Ancestor realm coming out, Yi Junlin showed a satisfied look and admired the wonderful expression on DTN's face. What kind of magic weapon is this? It's so evil. It can actually capture the souls of the dead and use them for one's own purposes, and it can also retain the strength of his life. DTN's mind was buzzing, and he couldn't describe his feelings in words. Thinking that Taoist Master and the others would still be dispatched after their death, DTN couldn't help but shudder and his back felt cold. Cruel, too cruel, Yi Junlin smiled playfully. Now, do you want us to fight you alone, or do you want us to beat you in a group? Hearing this, DTN almost vomited blood. Is there any difference between this and Nima's? Bullying, right, Yi Junlin said. If you don't say it, then I'll take it as your acquiescence. Come on, fuck him. Give an order. All the soul slaves of the Saint Ancestral Realm rose up to attack. Dishan gritted his teeth and felt a sudden increase in pressure. Boom boom boom. Facing the Dao Master's attacks in turn, DTN felt like he was stuck in a quagmire. His strength is very strong, but he can only be considered average in the ranks of the strongest. Therefore, under the constraints of the two Supreme Masters, the Taoist Master and the Buddha Master, it is difficult for him to display his strength. Fortunately, DTN's strongest strength is not his attack power, but his almost abnormal physical defense power. This resulted in him being under siege, but with his amazing defense, he was still able to withstand the pressure and remained invincible. This shows how resistant this master in the art of body refining is. He is indeed known as the man with the strongest physical fitness. But even so, DTN, who was beaten up, was somewhat powerless and soon fell into a disadvantage. Yi Junlin clicked his tongue and said, "Can you still withstand it? If you can't stand it, you have to stand it." DTN roared angrily, his eyes gradually turned blood red, and the surface of his strong muscles began to be covered with a dark golden sheen, like indestructible armor. His heart beat like thunder, rumbling, and could be clearly heard even from thousands of miles away. This is a body-protecting magical power unique to him, and its function is to comprehensively enhance defense power. At this time, his defensive power is more than 10 times stronger than that of his initial form, which means he has become more resistant to attack. DTN gritted his teeth and heard a series of beating sounds of divine iron. He actually withstood the attack of the soul slaves and showed vague signs of approaching the star core. Seeing this, Yi Junlin couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. "Good guy, are you so fierce? Beat me to death. Don't give me face," Yi Junlin ordered to avoid being succeeded by DTN. "Yes, Master." At this moment, each of the Saint Ancestor soul slaves launched a stronger offensive, using their best killing moves. Damn, DTN felt the resistance increase instantly, and was beaten back again and again, getting farther and farther away from the star core. His eyes were full of reluctance and anger. Seeing DTN fighting so hard, Yi Junlin was puzzled. "I'm curious, what conditions did Juyu offer to make you willing to kill your own ancestral star? After all, for a top powerhouse at this level, is there any other temptation in his eyes?" Yi Junlin really couldn't figure out why DTN would betray his hometown and willingly work for Juyu. This sentence pierced DTN's heart like a sharp sword, causing him to scream at Yi Junlin emotionally. "You don't know at all that we are saving Kunlun Realm by doing this. Even the entire universe. Now, you want to obstruct us, you are the sinner." "What the hell?" Hearing this, Yi Junlin was confused. "So I was wrong to protect the Kunlun Realm star core? You, the traitor, are right. This is nonsense." Yi Junlin immediately thought that DTN was probably brainwashed after being detained for so long, which is why he behaved so bizarrely. The source of all evil must be the Lord of the Nine Netherworld. It's no wonder that Yi Junlin thought so. If this happened to other people, they would also think that DTN was bewitched by the Lord of the Nine Netherworld. After all, he was clearly going to destroy Kunlun Realm, but he kept saying that he was saving Kunlun Realm and even the entire universe. Anyone would find this extremely absurd. "Kill him out, don't let him get close to the star core," Yi Junlin said sternly. Anyway, as long as he was there, he would never let DTN succeed. Boom boom boom. A group of Saint Ancestor Realm strongmen attacked fiercely, among which Tao Lord and Buddha Lord made the most efforts, and they used their best killer moves at will, making DTN bleed from the corners of his mouth and retreat step by step. "You sinner, sinner," he roared unwillingly with disheveled hair. The aftermath of the battle deep underground caused the entire Kunlun Realm to shake violently, and the 5 major domains even had different degrees of ground cracks, houses and buildings collapsed, and the mountains and rivers changed. What happened? The cultivators of Kunlun Realm were shocked and didn't know what happened. Heaven! The faces of Empress Fuyao and others changed drastically, realizing that the movement came from deep underground. This is the location of the star core. Because of the previous lessons, they are particularly sensitive to this matter. Damn it, someone must want to take action against the star core. Empress Fuyao said in shock and anger. Afterwards, she led many powerful men from the heavenly court to go deep underground to check the situation. At this moment, a powerful aura descended on Kunlun realm, and a cold voice echoed between heaven and earth. You are not allowed to go anywhere. It was a figure covered in black robes, holding a sickle like the god of death, with a naturally pale face under the hood, and extremely cold eyes, staring directly at Empress Fuyao and the others. Boom! Empress Fuyao was struck by lightning, as if she couldn't believe it, and then a monstrous hatred and anger swept through her chest, her eyes fixed on the black-robed man, and she said coldly, "You traitor, you dare to show up." The traitor she was talking about was the Luan who polluted the star core in ancient times and led to the decline of Kunlun realm. Window. _Taboola equals window. _Taboola. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Taboola below article feed. Placement. Below article feed. Target _type. Mix. Chapter 794. It's really him. Lu Wangshu and other ancient cultivators were shocked by the appearance of Luan. It was because of this person that the Kunlun realm was in a life and death situation. It fell from its peak to the bottom, and was severely surpassed by other worlds and became a laughing stock of the heavens and the worlds. For the ancient cultivators of the Kunlun realm, this is a bitter history full of blood and tears. Therefore, they hated the culprit to the bone, and wished to grind his bones to ashes, and imprison his soul in the soul lamp to burn for billions of years, and never enter reincarnation forever. Now, this former sinner actually appeared, which shocked and angered all the ancient cultivators. As the Fuyao Empress said, "You, a traitor, dare to show up. How dare you?" Luan said coldly, "I am here, none of you are allowed to go." As he spoke, he waved the sickle in his hand, and a white light shield similar to the field instantly expanded, firmly covering this world, trapping the Fuyao Empress and others in it. "Do you think you can deal with us by yourself?" The aura of the Fuyao Empress rose rapidly, and her phoenix eyes contained a murderous intent. Luan's eyes were cold. "No, I just need to hold you back." This was the purpose of his appearance. The fallen leaf that had talked with DTN before was transformed by his magic, which could avoid being sensed by the Fuyao Empress and Chengsheng Wang to the greatest extent, while he was lurking outside the domain to observe the situation at all times. When the Kunlun realm showed unusual movements, he knew that there must be a fight, so he took the initiative to expose himself and rush to support. Although he didn't know who had the ability to stop DTN, as a participant, he had to come forward to reinforce and buy more time for DTN's actions. "So, you have accomplices." Chengsheng Wang's expression suddenly changed, and there was a terrible guess in his heart, which was terrifying when he thought about it carefully. "You will know soon," Luan said expressionlessly. "I'll kill you." Empress Fuyao couldn't stand it any longer. Her aura had reached the critical point. She dodged and punched the black-robed man who looked like the god of death. She threw this punch without reservation. It was a killing move. Luan snorted coldly and swung out a dark red sickle. The terrifying blade could cut through the galaxy. Boom! The explosion was as vast as the sea. Empress Fuyao launched a desperate attack. In extreme anger, every move was fatal. Luan dodged with ease. When the sickle in his hand swung, it released unparalleled lethality. If you look closely, you will find that Luan's attack power is weaker than that of Empress Fuyao, but his body skills are more unfathomable. It is even higher than the Sky Patrol step that Empress Fuyao is proud of. This is very powerful, equivalent to a full dodge rate. Empress Fuyao originally launched the attack with full of resentment, but she didn't expect that 9 out of 10 moves would fail, which made her furious and she shouted, "You traitor, dare you fight me fair and square?" Lun was not panicked. His body movements seemed to be able to shuttle between the yin and yang worlds, and he was unpredictable, and he led Empress Fuyao by the nose. He said, "Haha, I have been here all the time, it's just that you don't have the ability to hurt me." Damn it, Empress Fuyao gritted her teeth and felt extremely difficult. Seeing this, Chengsheng Wang's eyes sank. Back then, the four of them had their own strengths, and Luan's most outstanding one was his body movement. How strong was his body movement? At that time, he dared to claim the first place, and no one dared to claim the second. Now, after many years, the other party has a deeper attainment in this aspect, and even Empress Fuyao's Zuntian step is far behind. On the other side, Hong Chenny and the others were dazzled. Although they all wanted to assist Empress Fuyao and kill Luan together, they felt that they could not keep up with the reaction, and they refreshed their cognition of the horror of Luan's body movement. "What should we do? I feel like I can't help," many people said anxiously. Lu Wangshu's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he suggested, "In this case, let's turn the passive into active, concentrate our strength to attack this layer of light shield, and force him to attack us." Hearing this, Chengsheng Wang's eyes lit up. "Yes, let's do it." Anyway, it's difficult to do anything to the other party for a while, so they just do the opposite and work together to get out of trouble. Suddenly, everyone changed their tactics and vented their strength to the surrounding light shield. Boom boom boom. The light shield trembled violently, flickering. Seeing this, Luan secretly thought it was not good, and rushed to stop this move. Kill. Empress Fuyao seized the opportunity and chased the black-robed man madly, with every move fatal. Unable to take care of himself, Luan's body movements began to go wrong, and he was attacked one after another, with blood flowing from the corners of his mouth. You know, in terms of attack power, he is far inferior to Empress Fuyao, and in terms of defense, he is far inferior to Emperor Tian. His most outstanding feature is his body movement. This is not as simple as speed, it also involves dodging. However, due to the current situation, he can only give up his body movement advantage and actively attack the target. Without this advantage, his overall strength is not as good as any of the three. Even the relatively mediocre Cheng Shengwang can defeat him, because Cheng Shengwang's development is balanced, and there is no situation where anyone is particularly strong or weak. At this moment, Luan, who was forced into a disadvantage, was slapped away by Empress Fuyao without paying attention, and vomited blood. You want to stop all of us, don't dream. Empress Fuyao said coldly. Luan's face turned pale, he gritted his teeth and had to give up obstruction and dodge with all his heart. After all, if he obstructed again, he would really be beaten to death. Now, he could only hope that DTN would succeed quickly. Crack, crack, crack. Under the joint efforts of everyone, the cracks in the light shield became more and more, and soon it broke with a bang. Puff. Luan was also hit back and spit out blood again. His breath was not as good as before. Don't waste time on him, let's go deep underground. Cheng Shengwang scolded. What he was most worried about was the Star Core, and he was also afraid to verify his guess. Just as Cheng Shengwang was leading people to go deep underground, a series of huge rumbling sounds like thunder sounded, as if something was about to come out from the ground. Boom. The next second, a tall man with a bloody body flew out, his tough face full of grief and unwillingness. DTN, who was forced to return to the ground, can be imagined. There is no way, who made him be beaten up? DTN, what's going on down there? Fuyao Empress asked hurriedly. Even at this point, she still did not doubt this old friend, and felt that there was someone else who was the accomplice of the chaos. On the contrary, Cheng Shengwang said nothing, staring at DTN, who was covered in scars. DTN felt guilty when he was stared at, and didn't know how to face it for a while. Haha, don't you explain what you did to everyone. A silver-haired young man walked out of the pit and sneered. He held the Emperor's banner in one hand, and was surrounded by a group of soul slaves, just like a big boss supported by his younger brothers, full of style. Seeing the figures of the soul slaves, Cheng Shengwang was dumbfounded and almost thought he was hallucinating. Only Fuyao Empress and the others knew the inside story, so it was not particularly surprising. However, when he saw Yi Junlin appear in DTN covered in blood, combined with the changes that happened at the moment, a terrible idea suddenly emerged in his mind. For a moment, the whole world fell silent. Countless complicated eyes converged on DTN, some were shocked, some were disappointed, some were angry, some were hateful, and so on. Anyone who is not a fool can see what is going on. Empress Fuyao was in disbelief, staring at DTN in a daze. The tall and glorious image in her mind collapsed. Under the interweaving of disappointment, pain and anger, she almost collapsed, as if something was stuck in her throat, her voice was trembling, and she said with difficulty. Why? Chapter 795. Why? This is what Empress Fuyao wants to ask most, and it is also the voice of everyone present. After all, when faced with the siege by giants from outside the territory, Dishan came to the rescue and showed off his power. In addition, he had fought bloody battles with the powerful people of Juyu in the starry sky. With the halo and filter in front of them, Empress Fuyao and others never doubted DTN at all, and had 100% trust in DTN. Who knows? They never expected that DTN would actually join Juyu and come to the opposite side of the Kunlun realm. He even teamed up with the former traitors to attack the Kunlun realm. How ironic is this? Especially the group of monks from ancient times found it even more difficult to accept Dishan's betrayal, and felt as if their faith had collapsed. Although Dishan was fully prepared, when he faced the eyes of these people, he suddenly felt the pain of being pierced by thousands of arrows, which was worse than the pain caused by the injuries on his body. Very. Answer me, why is this? Empress Fuyao asked emotionally. DTN gritted his teeth and did not even dare to look directly at Empress Fuyao. I remember that when he was caught in Juyu, he dared to look directly at the legendary Lord of Juyu without any stage fright. But at this moment, he, who has always been fearless, flinched and did not dare to look at Empress Fuyao. Ran's face was ugly. He didn't expect DTN to fail, let alone Yi Junlin. It is not uncommon to be able to control the souls of the dead. What is rare is that the manipulated souls can actually retain their previous cultivation. This is very scary. Even someone as powerful as the Saint of Creation does not have such outrageous abilities. Speak, why are you betraying us? Betraying the homeland you swore to protect in the past. What conditions did Juyu offer to make you do this at all costs? Go be their lackey. Empress Fuyao shouted hysterically, and 2 lines of tears fell down her face. The most important thing in her life is friendship, which is why she hates betrayers so much. Faced with the betrayal of her former friends one after another, even Empress Fuyao, who has always been perseverant and strong-willed, could not bear this heavy blow. At the same time, she also wanted to find out the reason. You don't understand. This is the only way to save the Kunlun world. We must do this. Tears flashed from the corners of DTN's eyes, his fists clenched, and his chest felt suffocating, which was very uncomfortable. What? Empress Fuyao couldn't believe her ears, her eyes were unbelievable. He obviously wants to repeat his old tricks and ruin the bright future of Kunlun Realm, but he keeps saying that it is to save Kunlun Realm. Isn't this inconsistent? The longevity man looked solemn and said in a deep voice, Fuyao, I think Dishan has been bewitched. His mind has long been controlled by the Lord of the Nine Nethers like Luan. Immortal Wang's words won unanimous approval from everyone. Only in this way can it be explained clearly. They are more willing to believe that DTN was bewitched, but in fact everything was not his original intention. In this way, the chaos that betrayed the Kunlun realm in the past is also the same. Both are victims. No, you don't understand at all. In fact, the better the Kunlun realm develops, the more dangerous it is. This fruit has matured. When the Lord of the Divine Court recovers, the final harvest will be carried out. By then, not only the Kunlun realm, but also the entire universe will be harvested. There is a catastrophe. DTN almost lost control of his emotions and shouted. Everyone looked surprised. This statement was so shocking that they couldn't believe it was true. After all, in their long-standing concept, the Lord of the Nine Nethers has been targeting the Kunlun realm and taking various destructive measures against the Kunlun realm. He is a supervillain through and through. However, the fact is that the Lord of the Divine Court is the cause of all turmoil. Source. This is so subversive of previous perceptions. Seeing DTN's performance, Empress Fuyao and Changsheng Wang were shocked, and were a little shaken for a moment. They didn't know whether the news was true or false, or it was possible that DTN deliberately confused them. It's about the safety of the Kunlun world, I really can't afford to gamble. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed. Based on his years of experience in reading online articles, this situation usually has a bloody reversal. Perhaps as the other party said, polluting the Star Core is actually saving the Kunlun world. Just as Yi Junlin was thinking about it, a sudden change occurred. An afterimage had approached him at some point, and even the soul slaves guarding him didn't have time to react. Kyla, the sickle cut through the void, causing ripples like water ripples. Careful, there were exclamations. But it was too late. Yi Junlin was killed with a knife, and his clone turned into nothing like bubbles. Roar. All the soul slaves, including the Taoist master, roared unwillingly at this moment and turned into wisps of blue smoke and disappeared into the human emperor's banner. Without Yi Junlin's control, they could not stay outside and could only return to the human emperor banner. Obviously, the only one who can do this is Luan, who is famous for his body skills. The chaos at this time was not pleasant. He was bleeding from all his orifices and his face was as pale as a corpse. With the black robe and the dark red sickle in his hand, he was no different from the god of death in hell. Ordinary people would be stunned if he saw it. Fainted with fright. Just now, while everyone was distracted, he used his body skills excessively, trying to injure his foundation to the point where he passed through a group of Saint Ancestor Realm soul slaves at high speed, and beheaded Yi Junlin. In Luan's opinion, if Yi Junlin is lost, then this mission can still be saved. Even if there is only a slight possibility of success, he will risk his life to try. Master. Li Wuji's eyes turned red, and the demonic energy on his body overflowed in an instant, and he fell into the edge of rampage. Calm down, this is just a clone of Master. Hong Chenny said in a deep voice. He didn't believe that his master would be killed like this. After careful identification, it was confirmed that it was a clone. Otherwise, he would have rushed over to fight for his life. Li Wuji was stunned, and then said shamelessly, "That. You don't really think I can't see it, right?" Hee. Hong Chenny gave him a contemptuous look. "No, what do you mean? I really saw it a long time ago," Li Wuji said anxiously, blushing. On the other side, Luan grabbed the Emperor's banner in his hand. Looking at this broken banner with strange and black air everywhere, his eyes suddenly burst into a brilliant light, and the corners of his mouth could not help but lift up. After all, he had seen the use of this thing. There was a group of Saint Ancestor soul slaves waiting for his orders. Now that this thing fell into his hands, shouldn't he make good use of it? Damn it, Brother Yi's magic weapon fell into his hands. Empress Fuyao's heart tightened, feeling that something was wrong. If the group of Saint Ancestor soul slaves inside were released, Kunlun realm would be at a disadvantage. You know, this is the strongest group of creatures in the Divine Court realm. If Yi Junlin hadn't taken action that day, it would have been a tragic battle, and they would not have won so easily. Therefore, when she saw the Emperor's banner fall into Luan's hands, Empress Fuyao was a little panicked. "Come out." Luan raised the Emperor's banner in his hand and shouted loudly, full of momentum. Result: quiet as a chicken, nothing happened. There was a hint of embarrassment in the air, and the scene was completely silent. Huh, Luan's eyes widened, and he looked confused. Then, he kept waving and shouted hard, "Come out! Come out! Come out! Quick!" Everyone looked strange, looking at this black-robed man waving flags and shouting. They always felt that his performance was very funny. "Come out quickly, I need your help. Don't hide in there, even if one of you comes out, it's fine. Damn, believe it or not, I'll burn this broken flag, I fucking an *%#." Because there was no effect for a long time, Luan was so angry that he threw the human emperor banner in his hand to the ground and cursed excitedly. He felt like a clown performing just now. If Yi Junlin saw this scene, he would definitely find it very ridiculous. The reason is very simple, that is, the human emperor banner is an item given by the system. There is no one else in the world who is qualified to use it except him. And his clone, with his power, is naturally qualified to use it. As for the chaos that he had managed to snatch, no matter how he injected his own strength into it or how he tried to activate it, the final result was nothing but a drop in the ocean, with no response at all. Chapter 796. Dishin, give me the things, and I will pollute the star core. After trying to calm down the chaos, he had to change his strategy. Since you can't fight head-on, then avoid its edge. With his extreme speed, no one can stop him. A glint flashed in DTN's eyes. Okay. I'll cover you. With that said, he took out the green bottle from his arms and handed it to Ran. Don't even think about it, Empress Fuyao said angrily, stepping out of the way to stop her with her Sky Patrol steps. The speed of her explosion was second only to Luan. The top priority was that she still chose to protect the Kunlun realm and prevent Dishin and Luan from being harmed in the slightest. After all, she didn't know whether the news revealed by Dishin was true or false, but even if she knew it was true, she would stop what they were doing. In Empress Fuyao's philosophy, as long as things have not reached the final step, she will not choose this way to sacrifice the future of Kunlun realm. Get out of the way! DTN shouted, and his body slammed into him like an ancient ferocious beast. His body is the most powerful weapon. Empress Fuyao formed a seal with her hands in front of her chest, and then she gathered her strength and clapped, trying to block DTN's move. Billions of streams of light converged on both palms, making them extremely bright. Boom boom boom. DTN resisted a large amount of damage and used brute force to knock Empress Fuyao away. Empress Fuyao's mouth was bleeding, and she shouted anxiously, "Stop them quickly. Don't let them succeed." Almost as soon as she flew out, Chong Shengwang and others pressed towards DTN. Like Empress Fuyao, they are doubtful of DTN's statement, but regardless of whether it is true or not, they will not allow the Kunlun realm to be destroyed. This is their bottom line. No one can stop me. DTN's eyes were so red that they were bleeding, and he roared like a mad Tyrannosaurus, charging forward with invincible momentum. You know, even the dozens of Saint Ancestor Realm soul slaves, including the Tao Master, could only push him back with all their strength. Now that they are without the obstruction of these powerful people, DTN feels like a hidden dragon coming out of the abyss. It feels overwhelming. In an instant, many figures were knocked out, vomiting blood in the air, with pain on their faces and shock in their eyes. Damn it, is this guy so tough? Li Wuji smacked his tongue. When he swung the sword, he felt like it hit the indestructible divine iron every time. The shock made his arms numb violently, and the energy in his body. Blood surged. This is a monster. Hong Chen's scalp was numb. His strongest flame burned the opponent's body, but it only burned away a layer of skin. You can imagine how terrifying the defense power is. At this time, DTN rushed forward like a bull, breaking through many obstacles. He was covered in blood and scarred, and some of his bones were even exposed as crystal clear as jade. Even so, DTN gritted his teeth and his will was as strong as a rock. He had only one purpose now, and that was to hand the green bottle into Luan's hands. The longevity man standing in the front was struggling. He kept raising his hoe and smashing it wildly at DTN. When it fell on him, it was like forging divine iron, and there was a crisp sound of gold and iron clashing. Dishan, you have been deceived. This is just a trick of the Lord of Nine Netherworlds. Stop it quickly, Chang Shengwang advised, trying to stabilize the other party as much as possible. Little did I know, this will only arouse DTN's anger even more. You all don't believe me. It doesn't matter. I, DTN, only want a clear conscience in my life. Get out of here. Boom, an unprecedented burst of brute force caused all the heavens and worlds to fall for it. What? Chang Shengwang and the others did not expect that DTN could still break through the siege on his own. Ran, catch it. DTN raised his hand, and the green bottle was enveloped in a ball of light and flew out at an incredible speed. The sparkle in Luan's eyes soared. As long as he caught the green bottle, he would immediately go to the location of the star core. With his physical skills, who can stop him? Not good. Everyone's hearts were in their throats. Huh, he stretched out his hand randomly and grabbed the green bottle in his hand. Suddenly, a hand as white as jade stretched out from the void and grabbed the green bottle first. Who? Luan's expression froze, and he looked in shock and anger. Hey, I finally got my chance. In the distance, a woman in a white dress withdrew her hand, and a green bottle appeared in her palm, with a sly smile on her lips. Wow, Master is so awesome. Tang Yaoyao looked admiring. There's nothing better than trying to snatch food from a tiger's mouth. Yes, it was the female gangster Luo Qingwu who took the opportunity to seize the green bottle. Luo Qingwu is good at the art of space. Although she is not as perfect as Dao Wuan in mastering it, she is still outstanding in this aspect. Therefore, she kept observing secretly, and finally waited for the opportunity to take action. Well done, everyone said excitedly. Luan reacted and roared, you are looking for death. How dare a little holy king do something under his nose? Aha, the sickle splits into the sky like a soul-seeking life. Luo Qingwu suddenly felt bad. After all, she was just trying to take advantage of him. It was completely nonsense to ask her to deal with a powerful person. Between the electric light and flint, a golden sword rainbow fell from the sky, like a divine punishment. Clang, the sonorous sound was clear and clear, echoing in all directions. The sickle returned to Luan's hand, and under the brim of his hat was a face full of surprise. The monks raised their heads and looked towards the sky. He was a handsome young man in white clothes, with silver-white hair that was crystal clear and fluttering in the wind. His skin was as white as jade and his whole body was glowing, which was very eye-catching. At this moment, he stood with his hands behind his back, like a white-clothed god-king overlooking all living beings, with a temperament beyond the world. Look, it's the Emperor of Heaven. The Emperor of Heaven is back. After a short silence, the world was suddenly filled with excited shouts. It's you. Luan's heart sank, and he had an ominous premonition. What he feared most was not the Empress Fuyao and Chang Shengwang, but this silver-haired young man, because the other party was the strongest genius in the history of Kunlun realm, and was more outstanding than any of the four of them back then. At this time, Yi Junlin, standing on the top of the cloud, stared at Luan meaningfully. He was still a little surprised that this person took the opportunity to kill his clone. Fortunately, everyone delayed time for him, so that his real body could arrive. Otherwise, the other party will succeed. Ghostly shadows. Lun gritted his teeth, pinched his fingers with one hand, and transformed into countless identical black-robed figures, flying in all directions like ghosts. The scene was very spectacular. The aura was exactly the same, making it difficult to distinguish the false from the false. Tisk, you still won't give up. Yi Junlin used the golden eyes to see through the other party's tricks in an instant. He waved his hand, and with the crisp sound of the sword, the dazzling golden sword rainbow came around and rushed in one direction, piercing through a large number of black-robed figures. How could you? Luan, whose traces were exposed, had beads of sweat on his forehead and a look of astonishment in his eyes. Because his target was still the green bottle in Luo Qingwu's hand, all the clones were just a cover. Swish! The golden sword rainbow flew over like a dragon, frightening him so much that he raised the sickle in his hand to resist. Bang! As a result, the sickle could not withstand the impact and exploded instantly, leaving an extremely hideous sword wound on his chest, with blood dripping and bones visible. Luan's face was in pain, blood was flowing from the corners of his mouth, and he suddenly lost all his strength and means and collapsed to the ground, like a dying fish, unable to jump up again. He didn't expect that Yi Junline's sword was so fast that it could not only block the space for him to use his body skills, but also so powerful. Yi Junline flashed and came to Luo Qingwu, stretching out his hand. "Give it to me." Luo Qingwu's beautiful eyes were shining, and she instinctively wanted to say a few dirty words, but considering the current occasion, she swallowed it back and handed the green bottle to Yi Junline in a proper manner. Yi Junline played with the green bottle in his hand. He could sense that it contained a special liquid with a strange power to pollute the star core. "You are a sinner. You will ruin everything," Luan, who collapsed on the ground, said weakly. Yi Junline put away the green bottle and ignored him. Instead, he turned his attention to another tall man covered in blood and said seriously, "Now the thing is on me. You either surrender or be defeated by me." DTN felt extremely unwilling and said angrily, "Want to defeat me? Then try it." In his dictionary, there is no word for surrender. Back then, he was besieged by the giants of Juyu. In the end, because he couldn't kill him, he had no choice but to suppress him together and bring him back to Juyu for imprisonment. "It's a pity that you are so injured. It's easy for me to suppress you." Yi Junline shook his head and didn't take DTN seriously at all. After a series of consumption, DTN's state is no longer at its peak. Even without him, it is only a matter of time before he is defeated by everyone. This sentence deeply hurt DTN's self-esteem. "In that case, you forced me." In DTN's hand, a pill appeared. This pill was blue-black and filled with a strange and cold breath. Looking at this special pill, DTN's eyes revealed undisguised disgust, as if there was something dirty in his hand. This pill was given to him by Emperor Yu before he set out. According to the other party, the power contained in this pill is very violent. Only creatures with extremely strong physiques are qualified to swallow it, otherwise their bodies will be directly blown up by this power. Because the standard is too high, he believes that in addition to DTN, the strongest physical cultivator in the world, there is probably no second Saint Ancestor realm who can use it. In order to ensure the success of the mission, he handed over this pill he refined to DTN as the last bargaining chip. The reason why DTN did not use it at the beginning was that he particularly rejected this method and felt that it was a betrayal of the body refining method he advocated. He also had a kind of disgust for Emperor Yu, so he didn't want to use this pill. However, now, facing Yi Junline's step-by-step pressure, DTN had to put aside his prejudice and decided to use this special pill. "Oh, are you going to take drugs?" Yi Junline's eyes showed strong interest, and he did not try to stop him. He just watched, as if waiting for DTN's next wonderful performance. DTN stuffed the pill into his mouth and swallowed it with his head tilted back. After a moment, his eyeballs almost popped out of his sockets, his face was full of pain and hideousness, as if some kind of terrifying power in his body was madly expanding and spreading rapidly in his limbs. Hysterical screams came out of his mouth, and finally turned into a beast-like roar. Under the horrified gazes of the crowd, DTN's body began to swell and twist, every inch of flesh and blood was wriggling wildly, and his body shape was also changing in some indescribable direction. Devil-like spiral horns slowly emerged from his forehead, his arms became thicker, and his sharp claws flashed cold light like divine iron. A thick dragon tail appeared behind him, swinging freely like a whip. His whole body was covered with a layer of dark red keratin, like a mirror-like armor, and his shoulders, elbows, and back were all sharp and piercing, extremely ferocious. After the transformation, DTN, even if he did nothing, just stood there, his whole body exuded a sense of calmness, elegance, and ferocity. It was as if it was the most perfect masterpiece from heaven. Chapter 797. Roar. DTN screamed upwards in pain, and his voice exploded in everyone's ears like thunder, making them dizzy and their hearts pounding. At the same time, there was a sense of oppression as vast as the sea. The faces of Empress Fuyao and Cheng Shengweng changed drastically, their whole bodies became extremely tense, and their hair stood on end. Today's condition makes them unable to even think about competing. Stop me quickly. DTN's eyes were bloodshot and he roared. At this moment, all he could think about was destruction, and there was a violent killing intention in his heart that he wanted to release urgently. He knew that the pill was not that simple. Emperor Yu wanted to transform him into a beast that only knew how to kill. Then he could kill all the creatures in the Kunlun world for him, or completely destroy the Kunlun world to avoid future troubles. Dishan, who realized this, felt very regretful, but he could no longer look back and only hoped that someone could defeat him. Hey, your opponent is me. Not far away, Yi Junlin shouted with interest, his eyes filled with expectation. Ever since he went to the Divine Courtyard and didn't see the Lord of the Divine Courtyard, he felt particularly unhappy. Now, Dishan showed great strength, which made Yi Junlin feel like he had found his opponent. He urgently needs an outlet to vent his emotions. You, my opponent, kill. Dishan relied on a trace of reason and pointed his finger at Yi Junlin. Boom boom boom. The two sides immediately broke out into an earth-shattering battle, and the horrific aftermath spread like a tidal wave, with scenes of destruction everywhere they went. Many people were so frightened that they retreated frantically, fearing that they would be involved. This level of competition was no longer something they could get involved in. Among them, Luan, who originally thought he was dead, was suddenly pulled by a force and evacuated the battlefield urgently. If it were any later, with his current half-dead state, he would definitely be shocked to death on the spot by the aftermath. He turned around and saw that the person who saved him was Empress Fuyao. You, why did you save me? Rand's pale face showed a hint of complexity. He knew that the other party wanted to kill him the most, and he couldn't wait to get rid of him quickly. As a result, he saved his life at the critical moment. Empress Fuyao had no expression on her face and said coldly, "You deserve to die, but I am not in a hurry. I will deal with you after I figure out the reason for this." Originally, she really wanted to kill the traitor, but after the incident involving DTN, she began to feel that something was fishy. Is it true that the Kunlun realm is the fruit of the eyes of the Lord of the Divine Court, as the other party revealed? Or maybe he was bewitched by the Lord of 9 Netherworlds, and his mind was controlled by some weird magic? Regarding this point, Empress Fuyao felt it was necessary to find out. Cheng Shunweng also agreed with Empress Fuyao's approach. He felt that something was wrong back then, but he was suffering from the lack of evidence and Renju was shrouded in fog. Now, he finally felt that he was very close to the truth, and was about to touch the source of all this turmoil. We can only wait until the dust settles to find out the truth of the matter. A bitter smile appeared at the corner of Luan's mouth, and he knew that Empress Fuyao was still taking chances. Bang 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 bang. On the other side, Yi Junlin and DTN were fighting fiercely, fighting each other with fists and punches. There were no fancy skills, the main focus was simple and rough, and the aesthetics of violence were vividly interpreted. After the alienation, all the shortcomings of Dishan have been made up, and he can be regarded as an ultimate evolved creature, approaching perfection. Facing Yi Junlin's offensive, he was actually able to resist and fight back and forth. Yi Junlin was a little surprised. You know, he has the quasi-imperial holy will, and he has surpassed Dishan by countless ways. Most people in the Saint Ancestor realm couldn't even catch his punch, and they would be blown up into a ball of blood mist by him. However, DTN could actually compete with him without falling behind. This is amazing. Kill, kill, kill. DTN, who had lost his mind, already regarded Yi Junlin as his only opponent. Boom, a powerful sweep of the dragon's tail shook out terrifying energy fluctuations, and the void collapsed inch by inch. Yi Junlin directly punched the holy fighting fist, and a vast golden light wheel appeared behind him, blooming with brilliant and immortal light. This punch was like pushing a sun, and billions of golden beams shot out of the sky, shining for eternity. Bang! The hard dragon tail exploded directly, and the cut area was bloody. Dishan roared and rushed towards Yi Junlin, waving his claws like divine iron, and endless energy crisscrossed the sky and earth. Yi Junlin continued to perform fighting holy fists, each move evolving to the extreme. Dang dang dang. In an instant, the sound of gold and iron clashing was intensive, like weapons of magic clashing. Many times, the punches fell on DTN, but DTN resisted directly with the hardness of his body. Even the cuticle covering the surface of the flesh was not broken, only a few mottled marks were left. This scene, everyone was shocked to see it. Yi Junlin's eyes flickered. You can't use it here. If you have the guts, follow me outside. Let's continue fighting. As he spoke, his body turned into a rainbow of light and rushed towards the outer starry sky. Dishan roared angrily and followed closely. Empress Fuyao and the others knew that Yi Junlin wanted to move the battlefield to prevent Emperor Tian from going crazy and destroying the Kunlun realm. The vast starry sky is magnificent. The two figures traveled one behind the other across multiple galaxies, and then a war broke out again. It's so good, so good. Yi Junlin completely let go and pressed DTN to beat him. DTN was furious. Relying on his fighting instinct, he used his giant magical power. Swish, he began to grow bigger, from a 2-meter-tall body to a body that could only see the stars. His huge body, as ferocious as a monster, stood in the universe, and the asteroids that could be seen everywhere were suspended around him like gravel. Boom, an endless and violent aura dissipated wantonly, shattering many of the surrounding planets. The giant DTN, obviously his strength has risen to a higher level, and he attacked Yi Junlin again. Law of heaven and earth. Faced with this situation, Yi Junlin used this great magical power. The next second, his body also grew wildly, and even the sun could only occupy his fingernails. Compared to his height, Yi Junlin is much taller than DTN. After all, Fatn Shangdi is the ancestor of gigantic magical powers, and its level is much higher than that of DTN. Looking at the oppressive silver-haired young man, DTN's fist-swinging posture paused slightly, as if even he felt a little shocked. He didn't expect that someone was bigger than him. Boom boom boom, Yi Junlin and DTN continued to fight, and the waves emitted alone disrupted the galaxy and interfered with the orbits of billions of planets. Oh my god, what happened? Many creatures said in horror with their scalps bursting. It's Yi Tiandi, he's fighting a monster. A strong man stared at the two figures with a shocked look on his face. Everyone knew the identity of Yi Tiandi, but as for the monster fighting with him, they all felt very unfamiliar and didn't know its origin. Chapter 798. Just like an adult beating a child, Yi Junlin beat DTN wildly. DTN was unable to resist, and the armor covering his body was covered with cracks and fragments flew everywhere. Countless planets were destroyed along the way, blooming one after another in the universe like gorgeous fireworks, and the scene was very spectacular. Roar! In the fierce battle, the horn on DTN's forehead broke off, and the armor on his body was almost broken, revealing the flesh with scars. Yi Junlin felt that the situation was in his favor, but suddenly the opponent's change made him feel something was wrong. I saw DTN's blood-red eyes, which were full of ferocity, gradually became as dark as ink, full of weirdness. The broken stratum corneum reappeared on the surface of the flesh, as new and smooth as a mirror. This is not over yet. Countless thick and ugly dark red tentacles suddenly extended from his back, each tentacle could easily roll up a star and entangle it. Boom! A more powerful breath burst out from his body, rolling in all directions like a wave. Yi Junlin's eyes changed slightly. He didn't expect that the pill swallowed by the other party was so weird that it was transformed again at the critical moment. At this moment, DTN looked more like a monster than before. A complete monster. I want you to die. DTN had a ferocious face and sharp fangs, and rushed towards the silver-haired young man in front of him. His attack power was very strong, and his fearless fighting style made Yi Junlin realize that it was not so easy to deal with him. On the other side, Emperor Yu watched the battle in secret. Seeing the completely alienated DTN, he sneered at the corners of his mouth, and his eyes flashed with the meaning of conspiracy. That pill was not only made by him personally, but also contained a trace of his original power, which was a private item. Only DTN's physique was so strong that it could make this pill work perfectly. Of course, he will eventually lose his mind and become a puppet controlled by him. Unless there is an extremely powerful force to forcibly defeat the alienated Emperor Tien. But the Emperor Yu thinks that this is impossible. Unless his old opponent takes action, no one can do this. Because at this moment, Emperor Tien's strength has far exceeded the scope of the Saint Ancestor realm. In a sense, he is a quasi-saint of creation. Yi Junlin, after I get rid of you, I will control this monster to destroy the Kunlun realm. This chess game has been going on for so long, and I am still better after all, hee. The tone of the Emperor Yu contained a hint of excitement. Back then, he secretly persuaded the chaos and polluted the star core of the Kunlun realm, which made the expectations of the Chaos Emperor come to nothing. This is how he won such a long and stable situation. Now, as long as the Kunlun realm is completely destroyed, he can eliminate the trouble forever, and he will no longer have to worry. As for the subordinates who have been working for him all the time, they are all insignificant ants in the eyes of the Emperor Yu. It is the greatest honor to be used by him. If they die, just consumables. As long as he continues to rule this universe, a brilliant genius will be born again in the long years to serve him. At this moment, Yi Junlin and DTN are fighting fiercely, the sun, moon, stars and rivers are collapsing, the starry sky is trembling violently, countless creatures are frightened and move their families away from the battlefield in fear, leaving one empty galaxy after another. Swish, 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 countless tentacles spread towards Yi Junlin, each tentacle contains terrifying power. Yi Junlin pinched his hands, and dense golden sword light burst out from behind, sweeping towards countless tentacles like a dazzling galaxy. Kai la la, a large number of tentacles were cut off by the sword light, but new ones would still grow at the cut, over and over again. Yi Junlin frowned, he felt a familiar strange breath on DTN, this strange breath had appeared on Shangjiba before. It must be the Lord of Juyu who was causing trouble. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed coldly. The other party was interfering with his power and wanted to get rid of him with the help of Emperor Tien. Roar! Emperor Tien roared continuously, baring his teeth and claws, and his aura was very strong, without any sign of weakening. In that case, let me try my new moves on you. Yi Junlin made up his mind and frantically operated the holy power in his body. Buzz buzz buzz. A vast and domineering breath wave was released from his body, almost covering half of the universe. In an instant, all the heavens and worlds were trembling. The strong men of countless galaxies were horrified, and their beating hearts seemed to be grasped by a big hand, suffocating. Emperor Tien Fist. Yi Junlin shouted and performed this supreme fist technique. The invincible fist light seemed to be able to cross the long river of time and space and suppress the past and present. All tentacles dissipated one after another, and under the push of Yi Junlin, the boundless fist light blasted towards DTN. At this moment, DTN felt a strong threat and roared to resist. However, in front of the Tiandi fist, his resistance seemed insignificant, as ridiculous as a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Boom! The extreme explosion wave spread in the universe, sweeping in all directions. After a moment, a huge bloody body floated in the starry sky, with scars all over the body, bloody and blurred. If you look closely, wisps of strange black air drilled out of the body like insects and dissipated. The dark and evil eyes gradually returned to normal, looking at the tall silver-haired figure, the pupils were a little sluggish, the mouth was slightly open, and a weak voice uttered. "Thank you." After saying that, Emperor Tien passed out. Because he was unable to support himself, his body turned into a normal size. Done. Yi Junlin let out a long sigh, with a satisfied look on his face. This heavenly Emperor fist is indeed powerful. Even Emperor Tien, who is strong after taking drugs, can't withstand his full-strength attack. If he hadn't taken drugs, he would definitely be killed by his punch. All the heavens and the worlds were dead silent. The strong men from all sides stared blankly, their eyes full of shock. The scene just now appeared in their minds. A handsome young man with cold eyes and long white hair dancing behind his head, he was seen urging the invincible fist light to defeat the terrifying monster in one fell swoop. This punch was amazing enough to make all the creatures who witnessed it unforgettable. How could it be? In the mysterious space, Emperor Yu stood up in response and said in a lost voice. The expression on his face was very shocked, and there was deep disbelief in his eyes. The momentum brought by that punch even made him palpitate. In this world, there is such an extraordinary boxing method. At the same time, the battle between Yi Junlin and DTN had already alarmed the recuperating Chaos Emperor. He could not suppress the shock in his heart, and secretly thanked God for not making a rash move against Yi Junlin in the Divine Court. Although DTN, who had completely transformed, was still at the Saint Ancestor realm in terms of cultivation, his strength was equivalent to that of a quasi-fate saint, which could pose a threat to him at present. In the end, he was still defeated by Yi Junlin with one punch. If he had not recovered to his prime, he would have really capsized in the ditch. This ant is really unexpected. Chaos Emperor muttered. Chapter 799. Whether it was the Nether Emperor or the Chaos Emperor, these two saints of creation hiding in the dark were shocked by the strength displayed by Yi Junlin. For the first time, they had a real sense of crisis, just like a ruler who had been in a high position for a long time, suddenly realizing that he would be threatened by his subjects. All along, they thought that all beings in this universe were chess pieces on their chessboard. If the chess pieces were not useful, they would just throw them away. They had never looked at them seriously or respected them. Now, there was actually a chess piece that began to escape from their control, and even wanted to become the third chess player, completely threatening their position. How could they stay calm? Sure enough, my plan was right. As this universe grows and develops, there will inevitably be brilliant people born one after another to break the inherent balance and rule. This Yi Junlin is a good example. The Chaos Emperor said in a deep voice. In fact, there is another unknown way to break through the Creation Saint. This is a secret method between him and the Dark Emperor, in order to ensure that both parties can form an absolute rule in this universe and not be threatened or replaced by the monks below. As for what he revealed to Lao Tianu before, that if you want to be in the Saint King realm, you must master the imperial grade Saint will, otherwise you are destined to have no chance with the creation saint in the future. This is actually a disguised misleading. If you don't do the last point, let alone have the imperial grade saint will in the Saint King realm, even if you have the supreme grade saint will, or even the quasi-emperor grade saint will, it's useless. What is the creation saint? Throughout the ages, the world only knows that it is the creation saint who seizes the fate of heaven and earth, but this is only one of them. There is also the most crucial point, that is, to seize the fate of all living beings in the universe. To put it bluntly, it is to rely on robbing. Now that the Saint Tao era of this universe has developed to its peak, it should not be only 2 creation saints. Even if there are more than a dozen, it is more than enough, but there are only 2, and it is always these 2. The reason behind this is terrifying. Many saint ancestors could not break through to the Saint of Fortune in their entire lives, and thought that it was because of their limited talent or lack of effort. In fact, the biggest reason was that the best way to break through to the Saint of Fortune was blocked by the Dark Emperor and the Chaos Emperor. This way is the Chi of Fortune. The Chi of Fortune exists in the abyss of heaven, which was born in the deepest part of the universe. Only saint ancestors are qualified to enter. It is extremely dangerous inside, and even saint ancestors will fall if they are not careful. There is a rare Chi of Fortune in the abyss of heaven, which will emerge every 100 million years. Saint ancestors only need to refine a wisp of Chi of Fortune to have a chance to break through to the Saint of Fortune. Of course, a wisp of Chi of Fortune is often not enough, unless one is extremely talented and has reached the top of the Saint Ancestor realm. There is a great possibility of being promoted by refining a wisp of Chi of Fortune. If one refines more than 5 wisps of Chi of Fortune and still cannot be promoted, then he will never be able to become a Saint of Fortune in this life. When Chaos Emperor and Yu Emperor reached the Saint Ancestor realm, they went directly to Tianyuan to seize the Chi of creation. They knew very well that they had to be the first to do so among all the creatures in this universe. In this way, they seized the opportunity and became the Saint of Creation by refining the Chi of creation. In order to prevent anyone from discovering the secret of this place later, Chaos Emperor and Yu Emperor coincidentally joined forces to exert their supreme power to seal the entrance of Tianyuan, and also deliberately set up the Eternal Illusion Array to completely hide Tianyuan from this universe so that it would not be discovered by the outside world. This is what Chaos Emperor and Yu Emperor did, and this has always been their secret. Later, as Saints of Creation, the 2 of them were in an absolute dominant position in this universe. Even if Saint Ancestor Realm was born one after another during this period, they could not threaten their positions. More and more Saint Ancestor Realm felt helpless and desperate for not being able to break through the Saint of Creation. Over time, they thought it was their own fault, and they had a strong admiration and awe for Yu Emperor and Chaos Emperor who had broken through the Saint of Creation early. Little did they know that these 2 people, because of their own selfish desires, cut off the path for the future generations of Tianzhao to ascend to the Saint of Creation. After the battle, Yi Junlin returned to Kunlun realm with the seriously injured and dying Emperor Tian. "Welcome back Emperor Tian," countless cultivators shouted enthusiastically. They saw everything Yi Junlin did. That punch was simply invincible and stunning. It had to be Master who did it. Li Wuji said excitedly. The Fuyao Empress had a complicated expression. The gap between her and this young man in the future was getting bigger and bigger. It was simply impossible to compare. It's really the Yangtze River behind pushing the waves ahead. Fellow Taoist Yi is really capable. Chang Shengwang couldn't help but sigh. Sure enough, the era of the 4 saints was over after all, and now it was the era of Emperor Yi Tian. One person suppressed all living beings, and he was invincible in the world. Yi Junlin threw the unconscious DTN to the ground and ordered, "Xiao He, I leave him to you." "Yes, Master." The Great Mushroom King quickly stepped forward and tried his best to treat the unconscious DTN. The injuries on DTN's body were shocking. If he was not treated in time, it would only take time for him to die. Failed after all, Luan on the other side said in dismay. He had just received treatment from the Great Mushroom King and was out of danger. He could barely speak properly. Yi Junlin said dissatisfiedly, "You are crazy, right? If it weren't for me, he would kill anyone in his state, and then destroy the world. Are you satisfied with this?" "Who knows," Luan sneered. "Without your stop, the situation would not have developed to that point. According to our original plan, it was to pollute the star core and return the Kunlun world to what it was before. This is enough. Fuck, are you still reasonable? The boss really wants to chop you into meat paste and feed it to the dogs." Li Wuji raised the knife in his hand and said angrily. Everyone also had angry faces, glaring at Chaos, who was arrogantly speaking. Only Goobuli touched the dog's nose, feeling a little depressed. I won't eat even this. Facing the murderous eyes, Rand showed no fear at all and said coldly. You know what the hell, this is the only way to preserve the Kunlun realm. Otherwise, when the Lord of the Divine Court starts the final harvesting stage, the star core of the Kunlun realm will be drained of energy in an instant, completely exhausted and reduced to a death star. Not only the Kunlun realm, but also many the world will also face this situation, which is catastrophic for the entire universe. To prevent him from achieving this goal, contaminating the star core of Kunlun realm is the most effective and safe way. We are doing this for the Kunlun world and for the common people in this world. What is wrong with doing this? A hoarse and deep voice sounded with excitement. Hear the words. Everyone looked at each other with surprise and suspicion in each other's eyes. Although it sounds a bit outrageous, what if it is true? Empress Fuyao was silent for a moment and said to Yi Junlin, Fellow Taoist Yi, we have carefully checked and there is nothing strange in his sea of consciousness, which means that he is awake and has not been manipulated by the Lord of the Nine Nethers. Regarding the rebellion, she had always thought that he was a traitor. By doing so, she was betraying the Kunlun realm and putting the Kunlun realm into a situation that would never be restored. But I didn't expect that this matter would now turn around. If you really go by what the other party said, you had a reason to do that back then, you did it out of necessity, and you were saving the Kunlun world in disguise. This made Empress Fuyao's inner feelings difficult to understand, and she fell into a difficult decision-making situation for a while. Yi Junlin rubbed his chin and asked, Where's the evidence? You believe it so firmly, you must know something, right? After all, to make a person betray his own world and bear endless infamy with nothing but a few words, he must have enough determination. Luan smiled bitterly and said, At that time, the Lord of Nine Nethers came to me secretly. I didn't believe it at first. Later, he took out something, a strange tree trunk. He demonstrated to me that the trunk penetrated the star core and absorbed it. In the whole process of energy, the star core was soon drained of energy and turned into an empty shell. Quote. He said that this tree trunk was taken from a treasure called the Void Sacred Tree. It is a real void sacred tree. The trunk can freely penetrate the void, pierce into the star core within the heavens and the world, and absorb energy to strengthen the sacred tree, and finally formed a magical fruit. And that void sacred tree is in the hands of the Lord of the Divine Court. Hear this. Everyone was shocked. Is there such a terrifying treasure in this world? Yi Junlin's eyes flashed and he pondered. Then what is the function of this so-called divine fruit? He thought that this divine fruit must have magical effects, otherwise how could the two saints of creation keep fighting because of it? After a moment of silence, 3 words came out from his chapped thin lips. Can become a god. Chapter 800. Hear the words. Everyone was shocked, their eyes were shocked and a little confused. That so-called god seems to be more powerful than the saint of creation. Today's universe is the era of the holy way, and the saint of creation is the living being at the ceiling level, so they all take it for granted that this is the end of the road of cultivation. As long as you can become the saint of creation, you will be the strongest ruler in the world. However, when someone proposed the concept of God, everyone felt that it was subverting their previous perceptions. Are you sure that the God you talk about really exists? Can you really become a god by swallowing that divine fruit? Empress Fuyao asked in surprise. This was the first time she heard the saying that a god is above the saint of creation. Luan said in a deep voice, This is what the Lord of Juyu revealed to me. As long as you swallow that divine fruit, you will definitely be able to break through the shackles and become a god, becoming a being even more powerful than the saint of creation. This is a higher level. The current universe does not have the conditions to give birth to a god, but it can be forcibly created through some special means, and the void divine tree is the best shortcut. There was silence. Everyone's eyes couldn't conceal their shock, because the amount of information was so huge. Once spread, it will cause a sensation in the entire universe. In that case, why does the Lord of the Nine Nethers have to target the Kunlun world? Not other worlds. Doesn't it mean that the void sacred tree will absorb the energy of all heavens and worlds? Yi Junlin seemed to have discovered a blind spot, rubbing his chin and asked. Everyone looked startled and thought this was strange. Has the co-author been targeting the Kunlun realm all along? Does Kunlun realm have to make sacrifices? Not in other worlds, right? Luan looked like he had expected it, and sneered, Do you think I didn't have any doubts about this at that time? The reason why the Kunlun world is so important is because the most important condition for the birth of the divine fruit is that it must absorb an eternal star core. And the star core of our Kunlun world happens to be the highest level of eternal level. So far, only the star core of Kunlun realm can reach it. This is why I wanted to pollute the star core of Kunlun realm back then. Only if the star core is seriously polluted will it not be conducive to the absorption of the void sacred tree. In this way, the legendary the divine fruit will never be born again. Hear these words. Empress Fuyao and the others were greatly shaken, and looked at Luan in a different way. The traitor who was once spurned by others and burdened with infamy was actually the savior who saved the Kunlun world and even the entire universe. This change of identity would be incredible to anyone. With mixed emotions, he continued. Back then, I successfully polluted the star core of the Kunlun realm, causing the Kunlun realm to decline. The Lord of the Divine Court originally wanted to give up, but the Kunlun realm began to recover later, giving him hope again. Because as long as the Kunlun realm enters the higher holy world, it will be fully equipped to harvest the star core of this world, so he and the Lord of Nine Nethers began a new confrontation for the dominance of the Kunlun realm. I see. Lu Wangshu thought of something and his face suddenly became clear. No wonder that after that incident happened, Shenting decisively gave up on Kunlun realm, and its attitude became extremely indifferent. The co-author of Shenting felt that Kunlun realm had no value in using it. Later, when the Kunlun realm began to recover and once again showed its amazing potential, Shenting's attitude toward the Kunlun realm underwent a 180-degree change, and it wanted to hold the Kunlun realm tightly in its hands. There are reasons for all the signs. Where did the discovery of conscience come from? It's all benefits. Hong Chenny sneered. But in this way, a world in which only the Kunlun world is the victim will be achieved. What have the creatures in the Kunlun world done wrong? Even if we pay this painful price, the outside monks will look down on us. Treat us as ignorant and backward natives. That's right, you're right. Resonating voices echoed around him one after another, making him very unhappy. After all, Kunlun realm made such a huge sacrifice. Not only did it not receive the respect and compensation it deserved, but it was also looked down upon and ridiculed throughout these long years. Is it really worth it? Ran was silent for a moment, then let out a helpless sigh. Hey, there's nothing we can do about this. I just want to extend the time as much as possible. After all, this is the safest way. Let me ask you, if you want to become a so-called god, do you have to swallow that divine fruit? Yi Junlin suddenly asked. He felt that the Lord of the Nine Netherworld and the Lord of the Divine Court were both special, and they actually had so much advanced information. Regarding this, the Lord of Nine Nethers once revealed to me that when the universe develops to a certain trend, there will be an opportunity to become a god. At that time, the saint of creation will have the opportunity to become a god without the help of the divine fruit. As for how long it will take, it is unknown. It's just that the Lord of the Divine Court wants to break the balance in advance and become the first god in the universe. So I feel that preserving the Kunlun realm first and stabilizing the overall situation is the top priority, and we will talk about the rest later. The chaotic voice was filled with helplessness and sadness. His expectations were good, and he wanted to stabilize the Lord of the Divine Court first so that he could not attack the Kunlun realm. When everyone became a god later, the Kunlun realm would naturally be able to escape the disaster. With this lucky idea, he chose to cooperate with you Emperor and seek skin from the tiger. Everyone had different expressions, gradually expressing their understanding of Luan's actions. Why didn't you tell us about this earlier? You had to go your own way and kept it from us for so many years. Empress Fuyao gritted her teeth. Now, her attitude towards Ran has changed, but she feels dissatisfied that she has been kept in the dark. Chang Shengwang complained. And that battle back then, almost let Fuyao fall, and I almost died too. You should at least give me a heads up. For so many years he was wandering outside, alone and helpless, and in the end, he found that everything was planned. It would be strange if he could let it go in this situation. Loon said bitterly, don't I know your abilities? Besides, I think even if I tell you the reason, you will hardly agree with my approach. It's better for me to do it secretly behind your back, and I will bear the blame alone. Fuyao Empress and Chang Shengwang were speechless, not knowing how to refute for a while. Now, the truth is out. The spearhead is pointed at the Lord of the Divine Court. If it weren't for the other party's selfish desires, Kunlun realm would not be involved and suffer so many crimes for no reason. At this time, the seriously injured and unconscious Emperor Tian was treated in time by the Great Mushroom King and woke up slowly. Looking at the people in front of him, he opened his mouth and wanted to say something, but the Fuyao Empress said first, the reason for the matter, Luan has already explained it to us. We understand your approach, and you don't need to explain. Emperor Tian was startled and looked at Luan, who nodded. Okay, Since you all know, there is only one way before us, that is, to continue to pollute the star core according to our method. Emperor Tian forced himself to stay in a state of mind and said in a deep voice, otherwise, when the Lord of the Divine Court recovers, he will officially open the Void God Tree and harvest the 10,000 worlds, and then it will be irreversible. To pollute the star core is to destroy the good situation of the Kunlun realm, and no one present is willing to do this. At the scene, pairs of eyes gathered on Yi Junlin, wanting to hear his decision. Who would have thought that Yi Junlin said without hesitation, then I will choose the second way, to kill the Lord of the Divine Court. Window. _tabula equals window. _tabula. Push mode. Thumbs feed 01. Container. Tabula below article thumbnail, 300 by 250 feet. Placement. Below article thumbnail 300 by 250 feet. Target _type. Mix.